Phoenix Nights. Chapter 180. You want to go against the oath? The demonic god Wu Yunhua was furious. A weak demon dared to bargain in front of him? In the dark abyss, countless demons submitted to him. None of them dared to disobey his orders. Because those who disobeyed him were long dead. Among his countless subjects, he could not even be bothered to look at a demon of this level. They were not even qualified to attract his attention. This was because this was the world of the Xia people. As a demonic god, the power he could use in the world of the Xia people was too little. That was why he made an oath with this weak demon. Lord Demonic God, of course I would not dare to go against the oath. But the oath clearly stated that I cannot do anything that will result in my death. The servant replied. De Bai Shi. This Dong Bo Shuang became a transcendent 20 years ago. Currently, he has only just broken through to the early stage of the Saint Realm. Furthermore, he has only cultivated for a short period of time. With your combat power, I'm afraid you can kill him in a single move. You have about a breath's time to fight. In a breath's time, you can easily attack more than 100 times. Xia people transcendents would immediately report the demon to their superiors. However, Xia people demigods would need a breath's time to rush over. This was because teleportation, which took a very short time, covered a very short distance. It required teleportation time and time again. The more time it took, the more time it took. It was not suitable for long-distance travel. Tearing open a spatial tunnel to travel through it would also take some time, about a breath's time. This breath's time was also the most dangerous moment for Xia people transcendents. If they were lucky, Xia people transcendents would discover the demon, but the demon would not discover them. Naturally, this would be the easiest. As long as they reported it, the Xia people demigods would arrive and easily finish off the demon. However, if the demon also discovered the Xia people transcendents, then they would counterattack. This would be dangerous. It would be best if Xia people transcendents could kill the demon. If they could not, they would have to try their best to survive for a breath's time. In history, during the war with the demons, many Xia clan transcendents had died under the demon's counterattack. If I kill him, the demigods of the Xia people will arrive soon. How can I escape? I will bring you along and quickly teleport away. Although my strength has been suppressed, these Xia people are far from being able to compare to me in terms of the usage of laws and profound mysteries. I can easily escape with you. Half a breath. I will fight for half a breath. If I lose, you must take me away immediately. The chubby servant replied in his mind. All right. In half a breath's time, even if you fail, I will still bring you away. Demon god Wu Yunhua was also looking forward to it. As long as he managed to kill Dongbu Shuang, he would immediately escape with this demon. Once the human demigods arrived, they would definitely follow the spatial ripples and chase after them. For the time being, the humans wouldn't care about those weak mortals. It would also take time for the mortals of the Dragon Mountain Manor to arrive. By then, the subordinates hidden in the main altar would have enough time to dismantle the treasures and move them. If they could negotiate, they would negotiate. If the negotiation failed, then kill. The treasure must be protected. What's wrong? Lord Demon God is so angry that he's about to go crazy? Dongbu Shuang looked at the black-robed, red-skinned, horned demon god in front of him. However, he didn't know that this demon god had already negotiated with another demon. After all, the demon god's usage of laws and profound mysteries was too profound. Compared to the demon god, right now, he was just a young and immature fellow on the path of transcendence. Humph. Wu Yunhua snorted coldly. Just as he snorted, Hua, a chubby servant, who was originally a few hundred meters away, suddenly burst forth with speed. In an instant he had already passed through the corridor and appeared in front of Dongbu Shuang. Not good. Dongbu Shuang's expression changed. He could already clearly see that countless black scales had appeared on the chubby and honest servant's body. His body had also expanded to a height of 2 zhang. On top of his thick palms that were filled with fine red scales, A pair of huge ox-horned axes appeared. The edges of the axes were incomparably sharp, sending chills down one's spine. A layer of fine red scales also appeared on his face. His pair of dark yellow eyes were filled with brutality. Demon! Dongbu Shui Ying's consciousness immediately reported to the infernal palace through his communication wristband. Demon discovered. Demon? The demigod closest to Dongbu Shuiying was the eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qibai, who was currently in the Tranquil Sun province. At this moment, he was in the Eternal Wind Academy, giving pointers to his two disciples. Snow Eagle discovered the demon? Qiu Qibai stood up abruptly. He had received the news through his communication wristband, and had also obtained the exact location of Dongbu Shuiying. Qiu Qibai could not be bothered to speak to his disciples. Right now, every second was of the essence. This was because if he was even the slightest bit slower, the transcendence of the Xia people who discovered the demon might lose their lives. Shua. The space in front of him was violently torn apart. Qiu Qibai took a step forward and entered it. As Dongbu Shuiying was reporting to the Infernal Palace, a long spear appeared in his hands, demigod weapon Stellar Fire Cloud Spear. The huge ugly feet stomped on the stone tiles on the ground, causing the ground to cave in. The stone tiles that it stepped on turned into powder, and the surrounding ground started to crack. The huge ox-horned axe in his right hand danced in the air. It was as though the heavens and earth were being sliced apart. In an instant, the huge ox-horned axe appeared in front of Dongbu Shuiying. Too fast. Too ferocious. The blade of this ox-horned axe was even taller than Dongbu Shuiying himself. The entire axe was enveloped in a layer of fiery red light, causing Dongbu Shuiying to feel as though he was looking at a volcano erupting. The boundless ferocious might seemed to be unstoppable. Xiu! The moment the spear appeared in Dongbu Shuiying's hands, he did not hesitate to unleash his most ferocious attack. Extreme piercing. Sila, Dongbu Shuiying's figure flickered, and he disappeared along with his spear. Following which, he reappeared in front of Dongbu Shuiying, about 1 zhang in the air. His entire body seemed to have teleported more than 1 zhang away, allowing Dongbu Shuiying to completely dodge the terrifying ox-horned axe's horizontal slash. Furthermore, Dongbu Shuiying's spear directly pierced towards the demon's head. It was too fast, too strange. His other hand that was holding onto the huge ox-horned axe hurriedly moved forward. The axe's length and width were about 1 zhang, and with this move, it narrowly blocked the tip of Dongbu Shuiying's spear. Hong! This was a move that had not been held back at all, and the collision created a terrifying shockwave. The shockwave exploded outwards in all directions, and in an instant, a large number of stone slabs within 100 meters were turned into dust. The body of the silver-robed leader who had been pouring wine for them was also directly torn apart by the shockwave, and he died on the spot. Even the demonic god's world projection hurriedly evaded the shockwave, and in an instant, it was already several li away. No! The elders, the Silver Moon Knights, the servants, and even that Nanmeng Xian all died. As the stone slabs turned into dust, and as the stone slabs around them shattered, other than a legend ranker who left behind a relatively intact corpse, the bodies of the others were completely destroyed. How could this be? Even in death, Nanmeng Xian could not understand how a single Baron Yin's death could lead to such a terrifying outcome. Chapter 181. Demon Dabaishi staggered 2 steps back before regaining his balance. He could feel the piercing power from Dongbu Shuiying's spear entering his body, making him feel very uncomfortable. This terrifying piercing power is just a small matter. It can't even shake my powerful body. But how did he suddenly disappear just now? How did he suddenly teleport more than 10 feet away? He can even change his position in the middle of a battle? This is too troublesome. What? Dongbu Shuiying was equally shocked. I used my full strength, and he only took 2 steps back? His body was still at a disadvantage. His body was only at the peak of the sky realm, and his transcendent chi was only at the saint initial phase. During the battle, he had relied on the embryonic true meaning of extreme piercing to form the power of the laws of profound mysteries. The power of the laws of profound mysteries was already very terrifying, but his own chi was still too weak. That was why Dongwu Shuiying had exchanged for a demigod weapon, the stellar fire cloud spear. A demigod weapon coupled with extreme piercing allowed his attack power to increase explosively. Only then did he have the qualifications to fight against a peak saint. But after using his full strength, his opponent only took 2 steps back? His body is too strong, and his strength is too strong. Dongwu Shuiying made his judgment. Ho! Demon Dabaishi, who had taken 2 steps back, opened his mouth wide and revealed his fangs. He let out a terrifying roar that caused even the space around him to tremble. Bo bo bo! The roar spread out in all directions, causing visible ripples in the space around him. This roar was as violent as a volcano eruption. Under the effects of the profound mysteries of the sound waves, Dongwu Shuiying's body would be easily turned into dust. Seeing the ripples spreading out, Dongwu Shuiying's expression changed. So. Dongwu Shuiying immediately used his extreme piercing to retreat. It was impossible for him to dodge this terrifying roar with normal flying speed. Although Dongwu Shuiying's speed was 10 times faster than the speed of sound, this roar contained the laws of profound mysteries. In the blink of an eye, it covered an area of over 1,000 meters. Fortunately, extreme piercing was extremely fast. In the air above the ruined inner castle, Dongwu Shuiying's silhouettes appeared 3 times and retreated 200 meters away. The power of the furious roar weakened as it traveled further. When it reached a distance of 200 meters, Dongwu Shuiying swung his spear in a circle, executing the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind to suppress the furious roar. Demon Dabishi also stopped roaring. This roar had obviously caused great damage to his throat, but with his terrifying regenerative abilities, he would quickly recover. Shwa shwa! Dongwu Shuiying instantly closed in on Demon Dabishi. Die! In an instant, Dongwu Shuiying transformed into 3 silhouettes. The 3 silhouettes simultaneously appeared in 3 different directions around Demon Dabishi, each holding a spear and thrusting it forward. Demon Dabishi was shocked. An illusion? Which one of them is real? A fiery red radiance appeared on the surface of his body. This fiery red radiance also emitted fluctuations of the laws of profound mysteries, spreading in all directions. He wielded 2 gigantic ox-horned axes in his hands in a panic to defend himself. When the fluctuations reached 2 of the illusions, Dongwu Shuiying's real body wielded his spear and moved a foot horizontally. Just this 1 foot was enough to stop the ox-horned axes from defending themselves. Die! Dongwu Shuiying's eyes were filled with killing intent. Puchi! The stellar fire cloud's spear instantly pierced into Demon Dabishi's head. However, at this moment, Dongwu Shuiying felt a sense of difficulty, and he immediately knew that something was amiss. The tip of the spear rotated. Originally, it was supposed to pierce through Demon Dabishi's skull, but now, it pierced through his face. Although he still felt some resistance this time, he forcefully penetrated through. It completely pierced through his face. Then, it exploded. The explosive power of the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind rushed up to the inside of the demon's skull, turning it into a paste. Dongwu Shuiying immediately retreated. This demon's skull is too hard. Dongwu Shuiying was inwardly shocked. My extreme piercing was actually unable to pierce through his skull. Fortunately, my spear technique is extremely fast, and I was able to pierce through his face and kill him. After all, he was only at the embryonic form of extreme piercing, and this demon's body was too strong. Chi. Demon Dabishi stood there, but the injuries on his skull were rapidly recovering. The gigantic hole on his face was also recovering rapidly. What? Dongwu Shuiying was shocked. Undying body! Transcendents also had vital points on their bodies. For example, the heart, throat, etc., were normal vital points. However, the skull was the truly fatal one. However, as one's body gradually grew stronger, the vital points would no longer be vital. In fact, if one were to attain the undying body, not a single part of the body would be a vital point. Even if the body was completely torn apart, it would still be able to regenerate. Demons were generally more talented than primordial lifeforms. According to the intelligence report on demons sent by the Xia people, about 20% of rank 4 demons had grasped the undying body. More than half of rank 5 demons had grasped the undying body. Demigod demons, all of them definitely had the undying body. This powerful demon had clearly cultivated his body to the point of attaining the undying body realm. "General, save me!" Demon Daobishi's consciousness immediately called for help through his communication treasure. The Xia people had communication wristbands. In the darkness abyss, there were countless demonic gods. In terms of forging equipment, deity weapons, etc., they were much stronger than the Xia people. These low-level demons did not have powerful weapons, but they still had communication treasures. "Daobishi? What's the matter? There's a transcendent from the Xia people. I'm not his match." Demon Daobishi was incomparably anxious. "Who is he?" "It's Dongbush Shuang." "His name is Dongbush Shuang!" Demon Daobishi begged. "General, save me!" Although the wound on his head had yet to recover, he still wielded his giant horned battle axe and tried his best to block. In reality, his angry roar was the only move that could threaten Dongbush Shuang. However, the huge hole on his face had yet to fully recover, so he could not roar at all. Boom, boom, boom! Dongbush Shuang used his extreme piercing to surround him and attack with his spear again and again. His face exploded once again. His throat was pierced, exploding and breaking apart. His 2 arms were pierced, leaving huge holes in them. Perhaps Demon Daobishi's skull was extremely hard, and his horns were also very hard. However, the muscles, skin, and scales on his body could not block Dongbush Shuiying's spear. Almost instantly, many holes appeared on his body, and his 2 arms fell off. "General, save me!" Demon Daobishi's consciousness anxiously called for help through his communication treasure. Although he had an undying body, it did not mean that he could not die. For example, the demigod rank demon from before had also been killed by the demigods of the Xia people. Now, Demon Daobishi could not resist at all. He could only be ravaged and eventually die. Humph! Dongbush Shuang stood there. The fiery red transcendent battle chi in his body flew out like countless threads, wrapping around the demon's head, arms, and legs. The demon's entire body was split apart and suppressed by the transcendent battle chi. It was impossible to reconnect them. What a fellow! His body has already become undying, and his strength is formidable as well. Dongbush Shuang muttered to himself. From the start to the end, he did not even dare to receive a single blow from Demon Daobishi's battle axe. Even a peak saint rank transcendent would be at a disadvantage against him. Fortunately, my extreme piercing is extremely proficient in piercing through space, allowing me to maintain the initiative. Fortunately, I obtained the stellar fire cloud spear this time. Otherwise, I might not even be able to pierce through his scales. The surface of this demon's body was covered in a layer of fiery red light. It was the manifestation of the laws of profound mysteries. If he did not have the stellar fire cloud spear, he would not be able to pierce through it. Even with this demigod weapon, he was still unable to pierce through the demon's skull. One could see how strong his body was. Star. Chapter 182. In the distance, the demonic god Wu Yunhua was currently standing in midair, watching from afar. The shockwave created by the battle between Shuang and the demon Daobishi was simply too terrifying. How could he, who was merely at the limits of a mortal, withstand the shockwave from a battle between 2 peak stage saints? Hence, he had long hidden far away. He could see the rumbling from afar. Clearly, the shockwaves from the battle between Dongbush Shuang and Demon Daobishi had swept through the surroundings. The inner castle of the castle had been reduced to rubble. Half of the outer castle had collapsed, and the remaining areas were filled with cracks. I can't even see clearly. Demonic god Wu Yunhua anxiously wanted to know what was happening in the battle. However, He had no way of knowing the details of the battle. The battle between Dongwu Shuang and Demon de Baishi was too fast. In less than half a breath's time, the battle had already stopped. There were no longer any terrifying shockwaves. Wu Yunhua could clearly see the scene in the distance. Amidst the rubble, under the smoke and dust, Demon de Baishi's body had been torn apart. Dongwu Shuang stood by the side. Countless fiery red strands of transcendent chi were completely suppressing every part of the demon's body. Defeated? Wu Yunhua couldn't believe it. Demon de Baishi had actually lost to such a young saint, initial stage transcendent of the Xia people? At this moment, he really didn't want to accept it. He didn't want to accept everything in front of him. But it was the truth. As someone who had climbed to a sufficiently high peak in the dark abyss, and was even able to spread his faith in the material world, the great demon god had no choice but to accept it, no matter how unwilling he was. Dongwu Shuang! As long as you help me once, I will give you 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. 50,000 kilograms! Wu Yunhua directly transmitted. His voice was strange and unfathomable as it rang in Dongwu Shuang's mind. 50,000 kilograms? Dongwu Shuang turned his head and saw demonic god Wu Yunhua in midair. He had suspected it previously. But now, he was actually willing to take out 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. As an abyss demon, his subordinates in the Xia people's world were weak, so it was extremely difficult to prepare 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. If one were to transport 50,000 kilograms of origin stones through the temporal temple, the price would be extremely shocking. Hence, at this moment, Dongwu Shuang was certain, this main altar was definitely not an ordinary main altar. There must be something very important to demonic god Wu Yunhua. If you do not agree, I, Wu Yunhua, swear that my revenge will never stop. In 10,000 years, in 1,000,000 years, even if it's your clan, I will completely destroy them. Demon god Wu Yunhua threatened Su Chen as he offered the 50,000 kilograms of origin stones as a reward. He also knew that if he said 50,000 kilograms of origin stones, Dongwu Shuang would definitely be able to guess that there was a big secret about this place. But even if he didn't report it, the Xia people would still carefully inspect the entire altar after they were defeated. They would still find out. So he made his final struggle. Threaten me? There are so many evil gods and devil gods. If we, the Xia people, transcendents, would lower our heads just because they threatened us, the Xia people, how could we, the Xia people, survive until now? Dongwu Shuang replied to the demonic god Wu Yunhua in his mind. You need to use your strength and even send some resources from the dark abyss to the Xia people's world. Humph, just for revenge? How many times are you willing to pay such a huge price? There was no need to talk about anything else. Even if the price was relatively low, many evil gods and devil gods would not appear when their main altar was destroyed. For example, the last time Wu Yunhua appeared was 30,000 years ago. You don't agree? Demonic god Wu Yunhua was incomparably angry. Scram! Dongwu Shuang roared in his mind, but he was unable to block demonic god Wu Yunhua's voice transmission. Clearly, demonic god Wu Yunhua's usage of profound mysteries was too profound. Damn it. Damn it. You really deserve to die. Just you wait, Dongwu Shuang. I will definitely not let you off. Even if you die in the future, I will think of a way to capture your soul and bring it into the dark abyss. I will make you sink into the darkness forever and suffer endless suffering. There will be no end to it. Do you only know how to threaten? If you have the ability, show me something real. Let me see what tricks a demonic god like you has. Shuang sneered. He casually waved his hand, causing the world energy in the distant sky to condense into a gigantic palm. This palm majestically pressed down on the demonic god Wu Yunhua in midair. Demonic god Wu Yunhua looked up at the huge palm and snorted coldly. Shwa! His body instantly pierced through the void and disappeared. In terms of the profound mysteries of void traversing, he clearly surpassed any of the Xia people transcendents. Unfortunately, his strength was suppressed to the limits of mortals, causing his world projection to be of no threat to transcendence. The last communication between the two was through soul transmission. The speed was extremely fast. Demonic god Wu Yunhua clearly wanted to hurry up and finish the negotiations before the demigods of the Xia people arrived. Unfortunately, his struggles were all in vain. Sila. Space was torn apart. A figure walked out. It was the eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qibai. Snow Eagle? Qiu Qibai swept his gaze around and discovered the situation within the castle ruins. He even discovered some of the corpses of the demonized emissaries. With a single step, he arrived beside Dongwu Shuang. He looked at the demon Debaishi's broken body, which had been suppressed by transcendent qi. Undying body? Qiu Qibai laughed. Snow Eagle, I didn't expect that you would meet a demon with an undying body on your first try. This demon should be at least a rank 4 demon. Rank 4 demons usually have the combat power of someone ranked 10th to 30th on the saint rankings. They are hard to deal with even amongst peak saints. I didn't expect that you, Snow Eagle, could actually kill a demon of this level. He knew that Dongwu Shuang had grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. In front of an expert ranked 10th to 30th on the saint rankings, it shouldn't be a problem for him to fight for his life. But to kill him would be much more difficult. I also estimate that he's a rank 4 demon. Dongwu Shuang nodded and laughed. He's very hard to deal with. His roar is enough to seriously injure most peak saints. The weaker ones might even be shaken to death. All right, leave him to me. A living demon has its uses too. Qiu Qibai laughed. If it were a demigod demon, humans would not dare to keep it in captivity. Because the moment a demigod demon broke through to the demonic god realm, it would be a disaster. Of course, the possibility of that happening was extremely low. A demigod demon breaking through to the demonic god realm was much harder than a human breaking through. Although the probability was much lower, the Xia people still did not dare to take the risk. As for rank 4 and 5 demons, keeping them in captivity was a small matter. At the very most, they could just wait until he broke through to the demigod realm before killing him. I've already reported this to the Infernal Palace, Qiu Qibai said. Every time they fought with a demon, the situation would be reported to the Infernal Palace. Based on the situation of the battle, Transcendence could obtain rewards. 10,000 contribution points? Dongwu Shuang laughed. He had already received a message from the Infernal Palace through his communication wristband. His contribution points had increased by 10,000. The rewards for hunting down demons are really high. A rank 5 demon is the highest. Even demigods are hunting down rank 5 demons. As for a demigod demon, all of them are extremely cunning. It's hard to find them. Qiu Qibai shook his head and sighed. At the same time, he took out a metal chain with a wave of his hand. With a shake of the metal chain, it flew towards the demon Debaishi and tied him up. "All right, Brother Eternal Wind, there's something I haven't mentioned," Dongwu Shuang said. "It's about a demonic god called Wu Yunhua." "Oh?" Qiu Qibai listened by the side. Dongwu Shuang briefly explained. "Humph, these demonic gods from the abyss still dare to threaten the transcendence of the Xia people." Qiu Qibai snorted coldly and frowned. "According to what you said, this demonic god main altar should have something very important to this demonic god. Congratulations, it seems like you've struck it big this time." Qiu Qibai laughed. With Dongwu Shuiying's current status, even the clan protection treasure of the Xia people was given to Dongwu Shuiying by the Infernal Palace to protect him. This was a treatment that even demigods did not have. No one would dare to snatch Dongwu Shuiying's spoils of war. Furthermore, Qiu Qibai was an extremely prideful person. He disdained to do such a thing. "I feel that this demonic god Wu Yunhua might not give up. Brother Eternal Wind, please look after him from the side," Dongwu Shuang said. "Feel free to search for him. I'll watch from the side," Qiu Qibai said. "In." Dongwu Shuang nodded his head. Following which, he controlled the majestic heaven and earth energy and forcefully grabbed onto countless rocks. The binding force reached an extremely terrifying level. In an instant, countless rocks in the castle ruins flew up. Even some of the stone slabs and stone pillars that were still intact started to float up. The entire castle was dug 3 feet into the ground. All the items were floating high up in the air. Chapter 183. Dongbu Shuang and Qiqiu Bai stood in midair. The entire castle ruins was extremely heavy. If Dongbu Shuang were to rely on his own strength to lift it, he would not be able to do so. But controlling the heaven and earth energy, Dongbu Shuang was able to lift all the items easily. Big Brother Eternal Wind, I feel that the items in the castle ruins are very ordinary. Did you discover anything? Dongbu Shuang observed carefully. He used the heaven and earth energy to inspect every single item that was bound. I didn't discover anything. Qiqiu Bai shook his head doubtfully. South, Dongbu Shuang willed. Instantly, countless items flew to the side and landed on a large piece of barren land. Those broken stones, stone pillars and stone slabs were all piled up together, forming a small hill. The remains of the corpses were also piled up together. There were also some papers, books, plates and other items piled up together. Separate them? You've made it much easier for the Dragon Mountain Manor to search. Qiqiu Bai laughed. It's nothing much. I'll dig out all the secret rooms and the like. There are still formation tools under them, Dongbu Shuang said. This time, he used the heaven and earth energy to dig even deeper. All the places that had traces of human activity were all dug out by Dongbu Shuang. The array that was used to deal with Dongbu Shuang was also dug out. Countless items flew up. Dongbu Shuang kept all the precious items. The rest of the items still flew up and landed on the barren land far away. That Wu Yunhe said that he was willing to give me 50,000 jin of origin stones. The value of this treasure should not be lower than that, Dongbu Shuang said. We still haven't found it. It's hidden quite well. I'm afraid that there are some concealment arrays. I'm afraid that it will take some time to find it. I also think that there are concealment arrays, Qiqiu Bai said. There were many different kinds of arrays. Killing formation, bewildering formation, imprisonment formation, concealment formation. All sorts of functions were possible to prevent the world energy from detecting them. You're willing to use a formation to conceal it. TSK, it is indeed a valuable treasure. Qiqiu Bai laughed. Come, let's follow the old method. First, use brute force to sweep through. All right. With a single thought from Dongbu Shuang, the massive heaven and earth energy began to dig up all the soil and rocks in the surroundings. Nothing was spared. Countless soil and rocks flew up and piled up in another area of the wasteland in the distance. Immediately, the soil and rocks there quickly piled up. As the castle continued to sink, the mountain of dirt in the distance grew taller and taller. Moments later, the place where the majestic castle used to be was now a huge pit that was 300 meters deep. I've swept through the entire area, but I still haven't found it. Qiqiu Bai smiled and said. Furthermore, when we stared at it with our eyes, we didn't see anything special. It seems like it also distorted the light. The naked eye can see things by relying on light. If he could control light, he would be able to become invisible. Clearly, this formation also had a concealment effect. It's better for me to work harder and personally search through the area, Dongbu Shuang said as he charged downwards. So, Dongbu Shuang's speed soared. He flew around the 300 meters deep pit at high speed, using his body to touch anything. Using one's body to touch the formation was the simplest and hardest method to break through. What if it was a bewildering formation? The moment one got lost, they would immediately understand that they had fallen into a formation. For example, some concealment formations could prevent the naked eye from seeing them and the heaven and earth energy from sensing them. But when one's body collided, it was too difficult to prevent one's body from touching the formation. Pun! He transformed into a large number of afterimages as he flew. Finally, with a ping, he collided with a certain place. It's here! Dongbu Shuang smiled. And here I thought it would be very powerful. I thought that it would be able to distort space so that I wouldn't be able to sense it even if I flew past it, colliding with it with his body. It was too difficult to prevent outsiders from touching the array formation. Bewildering formations could prevent others from touching it, but they would be able to sense it immediately. To not be able to touch it, and not be able to sense it, one would need to completely conceal the space where the formation was located. This required perfect control of space, and continuous control at that. Human demigods were unable to create such a formation. Just like in the Infernal Palace, with the help of the Infernal Palace, they were able to achieve such a feat, but a demonic god, sending resources into the Xia people's world was already incomparably difficult. To send a deity equipment like the Infernal Palace? The price was too high. It was not worth it just for a little bit of faith. Only the ancestors of the Xia people, who were filled with boundless affection for the Xia people, were willing to pay such a huge price to send the deity equipment back to their homeland. Thus, the foundation of the Xia people, the powerful clan protection treasures, deity world weapons, and even deity equipment, many of them contained the feelings of the ancestors of the Xia people towards their homeland. Distorting space for a long time? Even the demonic god guild would be reluctant to use such a formation. Qiu Qibai flew over and extended his hand to touch the formation. Obstruct? Qiu Qibai sneered. His right hand was covered with a layer of transcendent qi. Beyond that was the true meaning of space cleavage. He had cultivated for many years, so his true meaning of space cleavage was naturally more profound. He casually grabbed. His fingers were incomparably sharp. With a rip, he directly tore through the formation's obstruction. Actually, the formation's obstruction was not that strong. Dongbu Shuang could forcefully break through it. Hua, the formation was broken. A real scene appeared in front of him. In the area in front of him, there was a rather ugly and huge bath. The bath was only 10 meters wide and was completely black. At the edge of the bath was a huge statue of a demon's head. The eyes of the demon's head were red, and its mouth was wide open. An evil aura was faintly emitted from its mouth. The bath was completely fixed to the ground, or rather, it was fixed to the space of this world. There were countless tentacles around the bath, and these tentacles were connected to space. As the space of the Xia people's world fluctuated, the tentacles also rippled. At this moment, there were 25 humans hurriedly disconnecting the tentacles from the demon bath. Beside them, a black-robed, red-skinned, gray-horned demonic god Wu Yunhua was anxiously taking the initiative to disconnect the tentacles. But every tentacle was completely connected to the space of the world. It was constantly rippling, and the rippling power made it extremely difficult to disconnect. Damn it! Demonic god Wu Yunhua turned to look at the black-robed youth and the white-haired man who had charged in. Just you wait, Dongbu Shuang! Wu Yunhua growled. His figure distorted and disappeared. He escaped really quickly. His spatial transference is really impressive. Qiu Qibai praised. Dongbu Shuang looked curiously at the huge demon bath in front of him. As for the 25 Star Knights, they had all been restrained and suppressed to the side. What is this? Dongbu Shuang was a little confused. He felt that the demon bath in front of him gave him an extremely evil feeling. This bath seems to be one with our Xia people's world. Its use of space is very strange. Qiu Qibai shook his head. I don't recognize what it is either. Although Qiu Qibai was a demigod, he had only cultivated for 300 years. He had just become a demigod not long ago. Clearly, he did not know much. Should we look for Vice Faction Head Chao? Qiu Qibai asked. All right. Dongbu Shuang agreed. Vice Faction Head Chao Qing was the oldest demigod of the Xia people. He would probably be able to recognize the origins of this thing. In another place. In the depths of a volcano, there was a strange warship hidden here. This warship was something that demon generals often rode on when they were out on expeditions. It was also able to isolate the senses of heaven and earth energy, and other basic detection methods. Inside the warship, within a cold hall, a crystal ball floated in the air. On top of the crystal ball, an image appeared. It was the image of a black-robed youth stabbing out furiously with his spear. Dabaishi is dead. He died at the hands of a transcendent of the Xia people called Dongbui Shuang. A demon wearing purple armor stood there. He didn't have any hair on his body, only scales. The beauty of his armor seemed to blend with the scales on his body. His eyes shone with golden light as he stared coldly at the image on top of the crystal ball. This was a rather skinny demon. He was about 1.6 meters tall, but the aura he emitted was filled with boundless blood. It caused the hearts of the 3 rank 5 demons who were respectfully serving him to tremble. When they were in the dark abyss, they were the subordinates of the general, serving a demonic god. They had fought everywhere, and the general's terrifying evilness had long since caused them to fear him. "Pass down my orders," the skinny purple-armored demon said calmly. "All demons under me, rank 5 and below, are not to fight Dongbui Shuang if they encounter him. Hide if you can. If you can hide, flee with all your might." "Yes." The 3 subordinates respectfully acknowledged the order. They were absolutely loyal to the general. Suddenly, the crystal ball rippled. A new image appeared on top. It was the demonic god Wu Yunhua. "Oh, if it isn't the demonic god Wu Yunhua?" The skinny purple-armored demon smiled. Chapter 184. General Yen Zhe. Demonic god Wu Yunhua spoke. He did not dare to underestimate this demigod-level abyssal at all. Even in the dark abyss, the demon god General Yen Zhe was in a different layer of the abyss from him, and they were of completely different factions. Thus, in the dark abyss, General Yen Zhe was not afraid of demonic god Wu Yunhua at all, much less now that he was in the Xia people's world. In the Xia people's world, these demon generals stood at the peak of power. All the demigods of the Xia people had to rely on their deity weapons to kill them. Thus, Wu Yunhua had to be polite and did not dare to offend them. After all, this General Yen Zhe led a large group of demons that had almost completely infiltrated the 5 northern provinces. This time, his forces had been greatly weakened. If General Yen Zhe gave another order, then in the future, it would be even harder for Wu Yunhua to spread his faith. He might even be completely destroyed. General Yen Zhe being able to enter the material world is worth celebrating. Demonic god Wu Yunhua smiled. "I won't be long-winded. I'm looking for General Yen Zhe because a treasure of mine has fallen into the hands of Dongbui Shuang." "Dongbui Shuang?" General Yen Zhe smiled. "Your treasure has fallen into the hands of a human transcendent. Why are you looking for a demon like me? Right now, he has a demigod of the Xia people by his side. His name is Eternal Wind Knight Chiu Chi Bai." Demonic god Wu Yunhua said. "I wonder if General Yen Zhe has the guts to take the treasure from them? With General Yen Zhe's strength, killing Dongbui Shuang and suppressing Chiu Chi Bai is as easy as lifting a finger. Even the number 1 demigod of the Xia people, Mountain Lord He, is weaker than you. Thank you for your praise, demonic god. I really like what you said. If the Xia people's demigods did not have deity weapons, I alone could wipe out 10 of them. Unfortunately, their strongest demigods all wield deity weapons. I've seen Xia people's Mountain Lord He use his full strength. It is indeed very shocking. If I were to fight him one-on-one, I would not have any advantage." General Yen Zhe smiled. "I can suppress Chiu Chi Bai, but I need time to kill him. Furthermore, the demigods of the Xia people will soon arrive with their divine weapons." General Yen Zhe had yet to exchange blows with the Xia people. However, he had secretly spied on the abilities of the demigods of the Xia people and had a clear judgment. If Lord Demonic God were to give me a divine artifact, I might be willing to take the risk. General Yen Zhe looked at Demonic God Wu Yunhua. "Haha, a divine artifact? In the dark abyss, I don't care about giving away a divine tool. But the world of the Xia people? I can't afford it. The entire Serene Shrine and Bloodshed Tavern only have 1 or 2 divine equipment each." The demonic god Wu Yunhua shook his head. Sending a divine artifact to the mortal world. The price was too high. The Temple of the Earth God, the Bloodshed Tavern, and the demonic faction all had powerful backers behind them. But each of them only had one or two divine artifacts. This was because of the great existences behind them. For example, the Bloodshed Tavern. There were countless mortal worlds that had similar Bloodshed Tavern. Every mortal world would give them one or two deity items, and the accumulation of countless worlds would be terrifying. Thus, they needed to consider whether the investment was worth it. In other words, the ancestors of the Xia people. The ancestors of the Xia people might not be able to compare with the existences behind the Temple of the Earth God and the demonic faction. But they really didn't ask for anything in return. They were willing to sacrifice for their homeland. Generation after generation, the Xia people accumulated deity items. Only then were they able to accumulate a few powerful deity items. Then why are you looking for me? General Yan Zhe's face turned cold. Why? Do you think I'll be stupid enough to help you without any benefits? No. You're not helping me. You're helping yourself. The demonic god Wu Yunhui said. From what I know, you demon generals have already discussed in secret and confirmed the territories that you each occupy. The 5 provinces in the north are your territories, General Yan Zhe. Yes. Yan Zhe nodded. The 5 provinces controlled by the Water Taoist faction were also the areas that the demon generals had discussed in secret and decided to be under Yan Zhe's control. Large groups of demons listened to Yan Zhe's orders. Of course, there were also 20 to 30% of the demons who no longer listened to orders after entering the mortal world. But most of these demons were killed by the Xia people in their madness. Only a few of them were smart enough to hide. But most of them still listened to orders. After all, only by relying on each other would they be able to survive in the Xia people's world. And one day, they would completely occupy this mortal world. Your main opponent is the Water Taoist faction. The demonic god Wu Yunhui said. The Water Taoist faction currently has 3 demigods, Xikong Yang, Chao Qing, and Qiu Qi Bai. Xikong Yang and Chao Qing have both reached the peak of demigod a long time ago. It's hard for them to improve any further. But Qiu Qi Bai has just become a demigod and has grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. In a few hundred years, he will definitely surpass Mountain Lord He. When that time comes, he will be your greatest enemy. Actually, I feel that the biggest threat to you is this Dongbui Shuiying. He's not even 60 years old yet. His cultivation time is too short. His current strength is probably enough for him to enter the top 10 of the saint rankings among the Xia people. The demonic god Wu Yunhui said. His potential is even higher than Qiu Qi Bai's. Maybe in another 300 to 500 years, he will become the strongest existence among the Xia people. He will be your greatest enemy. If you die in the Xia people's world, you might die at his hands. Are you trying to sow discord? General Yan Zhe coldly asked. I'm not trying to sow discord. The demonic god Wu Yunhui said. The time you spent in the Xia people's world is too short. You have too little understanding of the Xia people and Dongbui Shuiying. Even if I don't tell you, if you wait a little longer, you will truly understand the transcendence of the Xia people's world. You will also understand how great the threat of Dongbui Shuiying's potential is. Don't tell me you want to be destroyed after 1,000 years in the human world? With your ambition, you will definitely want to devour countless human souls and raise them in captivity, providing an endless supply of souls, and even break through to the demonic god level, right? General Yan Zhe coldly snorted. Of course. Raising countless humans in captivity, allowing them to reproduce. Then, he, General Yan Zhe, would carry out round after round of harvesting, devouring countless human souls. General Yan Zhe believed that his chances of becoming a demonic god would increase tenfold. I've said everything I need to say. The demonic god Wu Yunhui's face suddenly darkened. Damn it! He had been secretly monitoring Dongbui Shuiying and Qiu Qi Bai from afar. But now, the demigod of the Xia people, the old man Chao Qing, was there as well. As a demon general, leading an army in battle, you should be very clear how to deal with a potential threat that can destroy you. The demonic god Wu Yunhui smiled. With a whoosh, the image on the crystal ball disappeared. Clearly, the demonic god Wu Yunhua had cut off contact. In the cold hall of the battleship, General Yan Zhe's back was facing his subordinates, silently looking at the crystal ball. Dongbu Shuang? General Yan Zhe muttered. Previously, he only thought that with Dongbu Shuang's strength, demons below the 5th level could not be defeated. But he really did not realize the threat of Dongbu Shuang. After all, his attention was focused on the demigods of the Xia people. He had been studying every single demigod of the Xia people, thinking of ways to kill these demigods of the Xia people. Since demons had come to the mortal world, their purpose was to kill and conquer. They did not want to hide all the time. Pass down my orders. Find Dongbu Shuang, General Yan Zhe said. The original location of the castle was within a huge pit. Dongbu Shuang and Qiu Qibai were curiously observing the demonic bath in front of them, which was emitting an evil aura. The countless tentacles of the bath were connected to the space of the Xia people's world. They had not moved them yet. Whoosh! The space was torn apart. A thin old man wearing slippers stepped on the void as he leisurely walked over. He was grinning at the distant Shuang and Qiu Qibai. Seeing the young transcendents, old man Chao Qing was very happy. This was the continuation of the race. You two little fellows, what treasure did you find that you need me to identify? Old man Chao Qing smiled as he walked over. At the same time, his gaze landed on the demonic bath. The moment he saw it, his eyes widened. You found this thing? Who was so lucky? Chapter 185. It's Snow Eagle. He was lucky enough to discover a demonic god's main altar. He even took the opportunity to kill a rank 4 demon. Finally, he found this demonic bath. Bai laughed. I'm envious of him. This isn't some kind of bath. Old man Chao Qing grinned. A few of his teeth had fallen out. It was obvious that as he neared the end of his lifespan, he was also getting older. However, one could not underestimate him because of his age. His transcendent Do Qi would not weaken because of his age. His cultivation level would only increase. Vice head, what exactly is this? Dongbu Shuang was also very curious. Old man Chao Qing sat his butt on the side of the bath. He even touched it. Did that demonic god send down a projection? Is he trying his best to protect this treasure? Yes. Actually, I didn't even notice that demon at the start. It was that demon who ambushed me. That demonic god also used benefits to tempt me. At the same time, he used all sorts of threats. Dongbu Shuang said. Of course he tried his best to protect it. Old man Chao Qing said. Without this thing, this demonic god, the difficulty of spreading his faith in our Xia people's world will soar by 100 or even 1,000 times. I'm afraid that within a few hundred years, his faith in our Xia people's world will shrink by more than 90%. Ah! Dongbu Shuang and Bai were both shocked. Could it be? Dongbu Shuang and Bai both had their guesses. Yes, it is the legendary Devil's Well, Old man Chao Qing said. This demonic god Wu Yunhua had his Devil's Well discovered by you. No wonder he went crazy. Bai laughed. He was really unlucky. The altar you discovered just so happened to have this Devil's Well. Divine wells and Devil's Wells were extremely important to demonic gods. Most of the demonic gods that spread their faith in the Xia people did not manage to build their own Devil's Well. However, the moment they did, their power would continuously expand. Amongst the demonic gods that the Xia people spread their faith to, they would probably be ranked in the top 10. What exactly was the Devil's Well? More accurately, it was a passage. It allowed the gods to send their own divine power to the mortal world as little as possible. Normally, the wells created by the gods were called divine wells. As for the demonic god, he built the demonic well. Because they were separated by such a great distance, and there were countless spatial obstructions, it was extremely difficult to transmit divine power. Just by looking at the difficulty of descending a world projection, one could understand. And once the divine well was established, the loss of divine and fiend celestial powers would be greatly reduced. It was something the evil gods and fiend celestial could tolerate. Divine power and demonic god power had all kinds of wonders. For example, the demonic god power could easily demonize mortals. This was the origin of the so-called demonification emissary. At the same time, it could also strengthen one's body, greatly improve one's cultivation, and even allow one to quickly recover from serious injuries. In short, many of the fiend celestial's techniques needed to be executed through divine power and fiend celestial power. For example, pseudo-transcendent, the Terrene Shrine had used the divine powers in the divine well to cleanse their bodies, allowing their bodies to become extraordinary. In short, with the divine well and demonic well, many miracles could be created. Only then could countless humans, even star rankers and legend rankers, be willing to submit to them. Furthermore, with the demonification emissary and other techniques, their own forces would be strong enough. Those fiend celestial forces without the divine well and demonic well could not be compared. The demonic well had to be refined by the demonic god himself. Old man Chao Qing shook his head and sighed. How pitiful! After refining it, he had to pay a price that was 10 to 100 times the price of the demonic well itself before he could send it into the Xia people's world. This was the foundation of his faith. This time, you have destroyed his lifeblood. Just thinking about it makes him go crazy. These weaker fiend celestials are not like the Terrene Shrine or the Bloodshed Tavern, who could spread their faith in countless worlds. It is already not bad for them to be able to establish a foundation in a mortal world. Chao Qing shook his head. Maybe after living for so many years, he only had a demonic well and a few mortal worlds. It might even be possible that this mortal world has a demonic well. Do you think it was easy for him to obtain faith? You destroyed it in an instant. Dongbu Shuang and Qiu Qibai laughed. Qiu Qibai hurriedly said, Vice Head Chao, let's not talk about this. Take a look, how much is it worth? How many contribution points can the Infernal Palace give? Why are you in such a hurry? Isn't this Dongbu Shui Ying's? Old man Chao Qing stared. Snow Eagle is my good brother. I am happy for him. Can't I? Qiu Qibai retorted. Chao Qing glanced at Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang was filled with excitement and anticipation. Contribution points were good stuff. Cultivation required contribution points for all external resources. The higher one's strength, the more contribution points he would need in the future. This demonic well, compared to the few that our Xia people have obtained in the past, is considered average. Based on this, it should be worth 300,000 contribution points. Old man Chao Qing said. This toy is actually very precious to the demonic gods, but to us transcendents of the Xia clan, we can just dismantle it and use the rare materials. The contribution points given by the Infernal Palace are calculated according to the materials used. Understood. Dongbu Shuang nodded. This demonic well was refined by the demonic god Wu Yunhui into the mortal world. Only he could use it. As for the transcendents of the Xia people, they were not even deities. They could only dismantle the materials and use them. Even so, the Infernal Palace still gave 300,000 contribution points. 300,000 contribution points? Shuang was startled. A horse would not get fat if it was not fed at night. His own combat power had risen rapidly, and he had only obtained 100,000 contribution points after passing through the 100 battles chamber. But this was the foundation of a demonic god for countless years, allowing him to obtain 300,000 contribution points in one go. This was very normal. The reward from the 100 battles chamber was a form of nurturing by the Xia people. It was purely a gift. As for giving the demonic well to the Xia people, it was a fair trade. Wait, the price I mentioned is not valid. I will get the palace lordship to come over. Old man Chao Qing said. The original body of the palace lordship would always be in charge of the infernal realm. The one who tore through space and rushed over was the Battle Chi clone of the palace lordship. He checked carefully and understood the situation. Then, he congratulated Dongbu Shuang and offered 300,000 contribution points. Actually, there were many examples of giving treasures to the Xia people in exchange for contribution points. Even the palace lord Chen could not casually give it away. The order of the Xia people could not be disrupted. Snow Eagle. Old man Chao Qing instructed before leaving. That demonic god's foundation was destroyed by you. He must be furious. Even though his strength is not worth mentioning. You still have to be careful. I understand. Dongbu Shuang nodded. His parents and family were all in the Snow Eagle territory. His brother had not gone to the Eternal Wind Academy yet. There was nothing to be afraid of. When his brother wanted to go to the Eternal Wind Academy, he would just personally escort him. Moreover, every time the demonic god's projection stayed in the mortal world, it would consume a large amount of divine power. He could not stay for too long. Within a day, demon god Wu Yunhua's world projection would definitely disappear. As for descending again, the projection was the limit of a mortal. There was not much meaning in descending. Moreover, the demonic god had to consider whether it was worth it. No gains at all? Paying the price? Not many demonic gods would be that stupid. Very quickly, a few star-rank experts from the Dragon Mountain Manor rushed over. This was the demonic god's main altar. Even though it had been completely destroyed, they still had to check carefully. Chao Qing, Chichio Bai and the rest also left. Let's go. Seeing the people from the Dragon Mountain Manor starting to check the large amount of mortal items, there were actually a large amount of gold coins and even storage treasures. Clearly, both Dongbu Shuang and Chichio Bai disdained to take those mortal items. After all, the Dongbu clan and the Eternal Wind clan were transcendent clans. They had a lot of treasures. Dongbu Shuang instantly soared into the sky. At the same time, he manipulated the power of heaven and earth within 100 li. With a loud explosion, the clouds within 100 li exploded. Countless shockwaves spread out in all directions. Demonic god Wu Yunhua, who had been secretly observing from afar, suddenly had a flash in his eyes. He could clearly see Dongbu Shuang in the distance. Suddenly, his expression changed. He could only see the shockwave in the region of 50 kilometers in midair. He could no longer see clearly. By the time the shockwave stopped, Wu Yunhua could no longer find Shuang. Chapter 186. Dongbu Shuang! The demonic god Wu Yunhua muttered, his voice filled with killing intent. What did it mean to break through with force? At this moment, the demonic god Wu Yunhua felt sullen. Although he was much stronger than any Xia people in this mortal world in terms of the laws of profound mysteries, the will of the mortal world had suppressed his strength to the mortal limit. As for Dongbu Shuang, his strength was at the peak of the transcendent saint realm. The difference between the two was too big. He was like an ant flexing its muscles in front of a giant. Dongbu Shuang only needed to control the explosion of the power of heaven and earth within 100 miles to turn that area into a dangerous place for him. The demonic god Wu Yunhua's strength and the laws of profound mysteries did not dare to penetrate that area. Once it did, it would be easily torn apart and annihilated. I have been working in this Xia people's world for countless years. I worked so hard to send the devil's well here, but now, it has all been destroyed by you. If we were in the dark abyss, I would definitely let you suffer 3,000 soul tortures. Just wait. I can't kill you, but that General Yan Zhe will definitely kill you. He had lived in the dark abyss for too long and was very clear about the survival rules of the demons. Although he had only interacted with General Yan Zhe a few times, he had long understood General Yan Zhe's character. He was very sure that after General Yan Zhe understood the terrifying potential of Dongbu Shuang, he would definitely not allow him to grow. Once he found an opportunity, he would immediately kill him. Who? The demonic god Wu Yunhua moved his body and disappeared in midair. Azure River County, Snow Eagle Territory. In the wilderness below the mountain, the fragrance of flowers permeated the air. The demonic god Wu Yunhua with his black robe, dark red skin, and gray horns appeared in this wilderness. At the same time, he raised his head and looked at the mountains in the distance. He stared at the most conspicuous and tallest mountain, Snow Rock Mountain. At the peak of Snow Rock Mountain, there was an ordinary-looking castle. There was even some snow on top of the castle. Dongbu Shuiying, this is your home, Snow Rock Castle? The demonic god Wu Yunhua smirked. I said before, you will regret it. I will destroy your castle first. Whoosh. He took a step. In an instant, he traversed dozens of miles and appeared above Snow Rock Castle. What is this? Demonic god Wu Yunhua was shocked. He could feel a boundless energy filling up the space around him. The several kilometers around Snow Rock Castle was like a terrifying nightmare. Once the boundless energy was unleashed, even a peak demigod would be trapped for a long time. However, demonic god Wu Yunhua was too weak to break free from this power. Black cloud fire! Suddenly, a red-robed figure walked out of the main building of Snow Rock Castle. With a single step, he stepped into the air. A red-robed, black-haired youth. A fiery red light flickered on his skin. His eyes were filled with rage and killing intent. It was Dongbu Shuiying's Qi clone. Dongbu Shuiying. The demonic god Wu Yunhua was completely fixed in midair by the boundless power. He could neither struggle nor escape. He also saw the red-robed youth below. How dare you come here? Dongbu Shuiying was truly enraged. Previously, he had always been very relaxed when facing the demonic god Wu Yunhua. However, at this moment, his chest was filled with rage. Snow Rock Castle. This was his own home. This was the place where his most important family members lived. For them, he would do anything. This damned Wu Yunhua, to think that he would be so persistent. Ha! Ha! I didn't expect your Snow Rock Castle to have such a terrifying formation. But it's useless. You disobeyed me and destroyed my hard work. You and your family, I will take revenge. Just you wait, my revenge will never stop. Demonic god Wu Yunhua laughed maniacally. Die. Dongbu Shuiying's eyes flashed coldly. Boom! The heaven and earth energy in the sky formed two gigantic palms. Each of the palms spanned several kilometers. At this moment, the two gigantic palms suddenly slammed into each other. The center of the two palms was the demonic god Wu Yunhua. The demonic god Wu Yunhua still looked at Dongbu Shuiying and laughed maniacally. Just you wait, just you wait. Bang! In the instant before the two palms collided, the demonic god Wu Yunhua's projection dissipated. His original body in the distant dark abyss had given up on maintaining this projection. Maintaining a projection consumed a large amount of energy. He had originally planned to give up on this projection after taking revenge on Snow Rock Castle. Now that he had failed, he wouldn't be so stupid as to experience the feeling of being slapped. Rumble. The two palms collided in midair, creating a shockwave that spread out in all directions. Dongbu Shuiying controlled the heaven and earth energy to block the shockwave. What's going on? This, heavens. That's. The guards on the outer walls of Snow Rock Castle, as well as the servants walking within the castle, all saw the scene in the sky. They saw the ugly, black-robed demon in the sky. They also saw the two gigantic palms that spanned several kilometers collide, causing the black-robed demon to dissipate. This scene was too shocking. The two gigantic palms in the sky, either one of them was larger than Snow Rock Castle. How could the servants and guards not sigh in amazement when they saw this? They also saw the red-robed, black-haired youth standing in midair next to the main building of Snow Rock Castle. They knew that this was the pride of Snow Rock Castle, the legendary Dongbu Shuiying. Without hesitation, they attributed the two gigantic palms to Dongbu Shuiying. This was because there was only one transcendent in Snow Rock Castle. If it wasn't Dongbu Shuiying, who else could it be? Eldest young master is so powerful. As soon as that ugly, black-robed demon appeared, the eldest young master killed him in an instant. So powerful. I'm afraid that with a single slap from those gigantic palms, the entire castle would be razed to the ground. That's what a transcendent is. Even deities and demons have to retreat. The servants and guards were all whispering to each other. Dongbu Shuang, who was hovering in midair next to the main building of Snowrock Castle, found it hard to quell the anger in his heart. This Wu Yunhua is truly like a haunting ghost. Since that's the case, it seems that I need to develop the mortal forces of the Dongbu family. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. This way, I can destroy all of the faith of the demonic god Wu Yunhua even faster. A mere demonic god dares to threaten me across so many dimensions? When Dongbu Shuang saw the demonic god Wu Yunhua appear in the air above Snowrock Castle, he couldn't suppress his anger any longer. If he was strong enough, he even wanted to charge into the dark abyss and kill that demonic god. However, he knew that he was still very weak. He only had the qualifications to look down on these deities and demonic gods in the mortal world. When he truly entered the dark abyss, he would only be a snack for the demonic god. HM? Dongbu Shuiying's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly turned his head and looked towards the north. This was only his battle or a clone. It only had a small portion of its soul. Although it was at the same realm as his main body and had the same level of control over the heaven and earth powers. However, maintaining the heaven and earth powers for probing placed a burden on the soul. Although his main body felt a little tired, he could maintain it for long periods of time. However, the battle aura clone was unable to do so. This time, due to Wu Yunhua's attack, Dongbu Shuiying's avatar was able to control the heaven and earth powers. The heaven and earth powers he sensed could only cover an area of 50 kilometers. At that moment he sensed, beside a field in the north, an extremely terrifying and evil aura appeared. Dongbu Shuiying looked towards the north. Far below the mountain, beside an ordinary field, there was a thin and small fiend. The scales on his body were extremely beautiful, almost like a work of art. Although he was thin and small, the evil and terrifying aura seemed to envelop the entire world. At that moment, the thin fiend's golden eyes were staring at Dongbu Shuiying, who was atop Snowrock Castle in the distance. They were dozens of kilometers apart. Dongbu Shuiying felt as though everything about him had been seen through. This feeling made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He instantly understood the huge difference in strength between them. The purple-armored thin fiend gave him a sense of threat that exceeded any other Xia people or demigod he had ever encountered. Chapter 187. Demon General Yanzei stood at the side of the field, looking at the Snowrock Castle from afar. From what he could sense, between heaven and earth, there were countless particles. Everything in the world was vaguely composed of particles. The fast-flying light was also made up of particles. The drifting wind was made up of another type of particles. The distant Snowrock Mountain was also made up of countless particles. Snowrock Castle. From what General Yanzei could sense, every part of Snowrock Castle was filled with countless particles, transmitting different information. There are 1,899 humans. Warning formation: once you enter, you will be discovered. Killing formation, trapping formation, and confusion formation are all combined. Its power is extraordinary. Any demon general that enters would be trapped for a long time. General Yanzei nodded. Looks like it is impossible to enter Snowrock Castle and kill Dongbu Shuiying's main body. This time, he was only here to find out the truth. Dongbu Shuiying's main body was roaming everywhere, looking for traces of demons. But in reality, finding Dongbu Shuiying's main body was an extremely difficult task, because Dongbu Shuiying could change his appearance, and the demons were all trying to hide their auras, afraid of being discovered. Under such circumstances, to find Dongbu Shuiying's main body was extremely difficult. But there was one thing: Dongbu Shuiying's main body would definitely return to Snowrock Castle, and when he returned, he could kill him. What a pity! I cannot enter his Snowrock Castle, the risk is too great. General Yanzei gave up on this plan. I need to be patient, and slowly look for an opportunity to kill him. He took a step forward. Shua! He disappeared without a trace, directly passing through the void and leaving. General Yen Zhe was very cautious. This time, he had only sent a magic avatar to scout the situation. Human saints were able to use chi doppelgangers. These powerful demons would naturally be able to use demonic energy to form doppelgangers. But in the world of Xia people, demons rarely did so. Because they all tried their best to hide their strength, restraining all fluctuations. And the demonic doppelganger was formed from demonic energy. There was no way to restrain it. No matter where it appeared, it would be easily discovered by the extraordinary power of the heavens and the earth. Once the mana avatar was destroyed, its soul would also be damaged. Therefore, if there was no need, the demons would not use magic clones. Even General Yen Zhe had sent his magic avatar to Snowrock Castle in order to investigate the situation, and then quickly left. They wouldn't walk around casually or stay in one place for long periods of time. He left? Just as Dongbu Shuang reported to the Infernal Palace, the purple-scaled skinny little demon had already disappeared through the void. He has already left. Dongbu Shuang immediately reported to the Infernal Palace. Soon, Palace Lord Shen informed Dongbu Shuang. Snow Eagle, the demigod-level demon you mentioned should be a terrifying existence called Yenza that we know of. His strength was unfathomable. Up until now, he has never fought with us. He is very cautious. We know very little about him. All we know is that almost all of the demons behind the 5 northern provinces listen to his orders. Oh? Dongbu Shuang was shocked. All 5 northern provinces? Yes, he can be said to be the king of the demons in the 5 northern provinces, the true supreme leader. Palace Lord Chen said. He is also your Water Taoist faction's biggest enemy in the future. We know too little about him, so we are currently gathering more detailed information. In short, do not fight with him, try your best to avoid him. Understood. Dongbu Shuang replied. Just now, he had a simple interaction with General Yen Zhe. From the sensing of the heavens and the earth, the evil and terrifying aura that was recklessly emitted was not normal. Because for normal experts, even if they did not deliberately restrain their aura, it would not be so violent. Either he deliberately released his demonic aura, or he was very cautious and only sent a demonic doppelganger over. That feeling. Dongbu Shuang frowned. It was very uncomfortable. It was as if everything about him had been seen through by the demigod demon Yen Zhe. This feeling of being seen through caused Dongbu Shuang to be extremely vigilant. At his level, what he felt was definitely not fake. There must be a reason for it. It should be some kind of power that was spying on him. Unfortunately, his level was too low, and he could not resist it at all. I heard that demigod demons can even fight against the top demigods of the Xia people when they wield a divine weapon. Dongbu Shuang sighed. In the end, there is still a gap between us Xia people's transcendence. Demons were mostly born naturally in the dark abyss. Very few were born from demons. They were even more talented than the primordial beings of the mortal world. Most Tier 5 demons possessed immortal bodies, not to mention demigod-ranked demons. Every single one of their bodies was tyrannical, and their demonic energy was even more tyrannical than transcendent Do Qi. It could be said that, in terms of basic talent, they completely suppressed the Xia people. Furthermore, the number of demons in the dark abyss was uncountable. How intense would the battles be? Their battle experience and the profound techniques they comprehended were more inclined towards close combat. In comparison, the Xia people's transcendents were much more peaceful, and their close combat was also much weaker. Next, my Water Taoist faction's greatest enemy? Dongbu Shuiying's eyes flashed. General Yen Zhe? The highest leader of the demons in the 5 northern provinces, General Yen Zhe, appeared at Snowrock Castle and then disappeared without a trace. Although Si Kong Yan, Chao Qing and Chi Bai were all searching for him, they could not find him. Dongbu Shuiying's main body continued to search for traces of the demons in the tranquil Sun province. This time, he was heading towards the north. Previously, he had failed to keep watch at Water Rights Town and other places, so he gave up. Walking in the mountain village. walking on the official road, walking in the city. Everywhere he went, Dongbu Shuang maintained his heaven and earth energy to scan the area within 100 li. However, all the demons in the tranquil Sun province seemed to have disappeared, and there were no traces of them at all. Dongbu Shuang even tried to help the weak and wanted to lure out a big fish like last time. Last time, he killed a grade 4 demon and obtained a demon well in exchange for 300,000 contribution points. Unfortunately, not to mention the demons, he didn't even find a single evil god or demon god main altar. On the other hand, many of the nobles and bandits who caused trouble in the region were killed. The cold wind blew. The further north he went, the colder it got. The land became more and more sparsely populated. One couldn't see the end of the snow plains, and within tens of hundreds of miles, one could only see a small village. Commoners drove their sleds and traveled, and it was tough for them to survive in this cold land. They could barely survive here. Further north was the true northern snow plains, which spanned hundreds of thousands of miles. It was a forbidden area for mortals. The entire land is white, so clean. Dongbu Shuang walked on the snow, leaving a long trail of footprints. During these few months, because he purposely helped the weak, he saw too much evil and his mood was affected. Now that he came to the north of the tranquil Sun province and walked on the desolate snow plains, his heart calmed down, and his soul seemed to have been cleansed. Heaven and earth is indeed boundless. Dongbu Shuang stood on the peak of a snow mountain and looked out. The land was white, and occasionally there were some frozen lakes and trees. It was indeed really vast. Dongbu Shuang sat cross-legged on the peak. He took out a flask of wine and drank as he looked at the scenery. He felt that the view from the snow mountain was a form of enjoyment. It was endless. His eyesight was already shocking, but he still couldn't see the end of the snow plains. The land is vast and can carry everything. Dongbu Shuang muttered to himself. Something in his mind seemed to have been touched. Earth. Dongbu Shuang's eyes were a little lost. His heart was totally one with the land and sky. The power of everything in the world surged. The agile wind, the surging flames, the gentle and indiscernible water. As for the land, it was formed from the thick power of the earth. It was boundless and carried everything. Chapter 189. This is too beautiful. Dongbu Shuang had walked on the road countless of times since he was young, but he had never felt so intoxicated by the earth before. It was vast and boundless. It was like his parents' chest. It was like the foundation of the entire world. Grass and trees grew, the fragrance of flowers filled the garden, birds soared, streams flowed. All of these were embellishments to the earth. The earth was filled with vitality because of the myriad of living things, and the myriad of living things had a bearing because of the earth, and was no longer an empty castle. The earth. The world. Dongbu Shuang closed his eyes. His heart was completely focused. Although he could see it any time in the past, it was only today that Dongbu Shuang discovered the beauty of the earth. Its beauty lay in the countless rocks and soil, and even more so in the countless rocks and soil that formed the vast earth. A single grain of sand might seem unremarkable, but when countless grains of sand and soil are gathered together, that would be the bearing of everything, the earth. The black-robed youth sat cross-legged on the snowy mountain peak. He was immersed in the boundless beauty of the earth. Specks of earthy yellow light started to appear and revolve around him. These countless specks of light, it was like the warmth in his mother's womb. It encompassed everything. Dongbu Shuang's profound mystery of the earth had obviously stepped into the first level of the realms of myriad existences. The profound mystery of any myriad of living things was extremely vast, and could be comprehended from different angles. Some people comprehended the profound mystery of space, and first comprehended the teleportation section, like Pu Yangbo. Some people comprehended the shadow space section, like Yu Feng. Some people comprehended the space edge section, like Zhang Peng. The same logic. The profound mystery of the earth was separated into many directions. Dongbu Shuang first comprehended the profound mystery of the earth, encompassing and bearing. Bearing everything, encompassing everything. He sat on the snowy mountain peak for half a month. His body was covered with snow, turning him into a snowman. Obviously, it was his first time comprehending the profound mystery of the earth, fire, water, and wind. This allowed Dongbu Shuang to comprehend the profound mystery of the earth. Pun! The snow suddenly exploded, scattering in all directions. Dongbu Shuang stood there. Who would have thought that I would be able to raise the profound mystery of earth to the second level of the realms of myriad existences in one go? Dongbu Shuang was shocked as well. It took him around 7 years to advance from the first level of profound mystery of fire to the second level, while profound mystery of water only took 1 to 2 years, and profound mystery of wind was even faster. And this time, the profound mystery of the earth was even faster. The main thing was that these 4 types of profound mysteries fused with each other very easily. If he chose the right path, his efficiency would naturally be very high. Back then, he had comprehended the profundities of water because he had felt that something was too hard to break. The combination of water and fire was also a matter of course. He felt that it lacked nimbleness and change, so he comprehended the profundities of wind. Because it was what he urgently needed, it was easy for him to integrate it. And this time, the profound mystery of the earth that he had comprehended was about tolerance and bearing. It could bear the weight of all things and encompass all things. Naturally, it could also contain water, fire, and wind. While they verified each other, their progress was also extremely fast, and they had even begun to gradually merge. On the other hand, after stepping into the saint realm, his soul had become stronger, and his efficiency and comprehension had naturally increased. I wonder if it will affect the balance of the embryonic true meaning of extreme piercing. Dongbu Shuang furrowed his brows as he thought to himself. This was what he was most worried about. Even though he felt that there shouldn't be any problems, since he wasn't sure, he couldn't say for sure. The fusion of profound mysteries, wasn't that the more the better? For example, it was extremely rare for water, fire, and wind to form extreme piercing. If one more profound mystery was added, it would be like drawing legs on a snake, and it might even destroy the balance. Destroying the embryonic true meaning. Even though in theory, extremity was the beginning and the end of everything, as long as they were fused well, there shouldn't be any balance. But this was just in theory. Knowing the theory didn't mean that one could do it. Everyone knew about spacetime, but how many could actually control spacetime? Let's give it a try. Dongbu Shuang continued walking. He walked down this snowy mountain and walked on the ground. He walked around the various places, passing by villages and looking at the lives of the people in the cities. He walked in the middle of them, yet he felt like he was standing alone. This feeling of loneliness, on the contrary, Dongbu Shuang felt a faint joy in his heart. When he was flipping through the demigod dossiers, he had once seen this sentence. A human soul will only emit the radiance of wisdom when it is in solitude. If one were to mingle with the crowd and follow the crowd, their soul would be shrouded in a layer of dust, and their wisdom would be obscured. Solitude will allow the soul to gradually become clear, becoming as clear as glass, and naturally, wisdom will be born. At this moment, Dongbu Shuang was more and more in agreement with this sentence. When he was young, he wholeheartedly practiced his spear. Even though he was in Snowrock Castle, he didn't care about anything else. He wholeheartedly practiced his spear as though he was possessed, and his spear techniques improved extremely quickly. Later on, he cultivated alone in his bamboo house, and didn't even need a servant. It was only when he entered the Xia capital and was chosen to enter the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world that he was reprimanded by faction head Si Kong Yang and Master Gong Yu. During that period of time, he had indeed hesitated and hesitated. He questioned his heart time and time again, and even flipped through countless dossiers. In the end, he steeled his heart and ignored the reprimands of faction head Si Kong Yang and the others. He wholeheartedly walked on his own path. His path might be lonely, but he was willing to endure it. But it was clear that as he wholeheartedly immersed himself in it, and without any interference from others, his improvement became even faster. He even grasped the embryonic form of the true meaning of extreme piercing during the battle on the mountain road. And when he returned home, he traveled everywhere and observed the lives of countless mortals. This was the true meaning of solitude. After stepping into the saint realm, his soul became even clearer, and he finally found a profound mystery that he had always been lacking, the profound mystery of the earth. This profound mystery that could bear the weight of all living things was exactly what he needed. Crunch, crunch. Standing beside a mountainous region in the north of the tranquil Sun province, a group of bandits' corpses lay on the ground. The few remaining members of the caravan were still in a state of shock. "Thank you, my lord, for saving our lives." "Thank you, my lord." Among the remaining members of the caravan, there were old people, young people, and even children. After all, during such a long journey, there would be some families following the caravan, and it would be safer for them. "Take the weapons of these bandits and reach the city in front as soon as possible." After saying that, Dongbua Shui Ying's body flashed as he disappeared into the nearby mountain. On the surface, the strength he displayed was only at the level of a silver moon knight. As transcendents, they had to be extremely cautious when searching for traces of demons, because demons were also searching for them. At the peak of the mountain. Standing at the peak of the mountain, Dongbua Shuiying looked at the departing caravan and shook his head. "Bandits are everywhere, and the lives of the commoners are tough. Even though they know that this is beneficial to the Xia people, they still feel terrible. Even so, they still feel terrible." He understood after reading countless scrolls. For the Xia people to be able to survive in this mortal world, they had experienced many trials and tribulations. Thus, the Xia people had to make life difficult for the commoners, and there were also bandits. Under all sorts of threats, the commoners would not be satisfied with their current situation. Some of them would join the army, learn battle chi, and even work hard to become mages. This would allow them to become stronger through the countless life and death experiences. If the world was peaceful and comfortable, the number of people who chose the path of life and death would be few and far between. The number of transcendents born by the Xia people would also decrease rapidly, and the Xia people would weaken generation after generation. Eventually, they would lose their position as the ruler of the mortal world, and even be exterminated. "I hope that in the future, the Xia people will be able to prosper forever. The countless commoners will no longer have to suffer," Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. Dongbua Lai and his wife treated the commoners very well. The taxes they collected from the commoners were the lowest, and they did their best to protect the commoners' safety. Thus, Dongbua Lai and his wife had always been loved and respected by the commoners. Since young, Dongbua Shuiying had been influenced by what he saw. Similarly, he hoped that the commoners would have a better life. "Xiao!" Dongbua Shuiying casually stabbed out with his finger. His finger pierced through the layers of space, seemingly disappearing for an instant before reappearing 1 chi away. Extreme piercing. A smile appeared on Dongbua Shuiying's face. Indeed, it did not break the balance. With the fusion of earth, fire, water, and wind, Dongbua Shuiying had gone through many adjustments before finally reaching the perfect state in his heart. The current extreme piercing seems to have become more stable. Its power has also increased by 30%. Dongbua Shuiying estimated. Even though it had only increased by 30%, it was still considered an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. The slight increase in power was a small matter. More importantly, the fusion of earth, fire, water, and wind did not destroy the embryonic form of the true meaning of extreme piercing. A grade 2 true meaning was on the same level as the complete true meaning of space. Right now, it was just an embryonic form. In the future, once he grasped the complete true meaning of extreme piercing, it would be a qualitative change. Even though Dongbua Shuiying pursued the pinnacle of his spear techniques, if he were to really destroy a grade 2 true meaning, he would feel a heartache. Chapter 190. Snowrock Castle. A streak of light descended from the sky, landing before the castle gates in a flash. "It's the eldest young master. The eldest young master has returned." The castle guards were overjoyed. Ever since Donghua became a marquis and became the lord of Snow Eagle territory, they would still address Donghua Shuang as the eldest young master. The castle gates opened. Donghua Shuang immediately spotted the white-clothed Jing Qiu. Standing there, she looked like a fairy. She was known as the #1 beauty among the transcendents of the Xia people. She could even be considered the #1 beauty of the entire Xia people. Many of the guards and servants in Snowrock Castle, regardless of whether they were male or female, couldn't help but be affected by Jing Qiu's beauty. This was even after Jing Qiu used a small spell to make it difficult for the guards and servants to see her face clearly. "Senior brother Snow Eagle!" Jing Qiu was overjoyed. "Jing Qiu." Donghua Shuang walked over. Jing Qiu naturally hooked her arm around Donghua Shuang's. The two had long since become intimate. "Why did you only return now? You returned half a month later than me." Jing Qiu smiled. "Why did you spend so much effort searching for demons? I heard that many transcendents failed to find any clues. The demons have all hidden themselves. I was comprehending my spear techniques and accidentally overdid it," Donghua Shuang said. "Speaking of which, I even killed a Tier 4 demon this time." "Ah? You killed one?" Jing Qiu was shocked. "A Tier 4 demon?" The reward of killing a Tier 4 demon was 10,000 contribution points. It was enough to attract many transcendents. However, the difficulty of killing a Tier 4 demon was extremely high. "You have to keep this a secret," Donghua Shuang said hurriedly. "Yes, yes." Jing Qiu nodded. She felt very happy for Donghua Shuang. He had only been cultivating for a short period of time, yet he could already kill a demon ranked on the saint list. He would definitely become a demigod in the future. "Brother!" Inside the castle, a group of people came to welcome them. The handsome Qingshi brought his girlfriend Daya, Donghua Lai and his wife, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong. As for Daya's sister, Dai Lu, and her boyfriend, Kong Yuan Feng, they had already returned to the Eternal Wind Academy. Donghua Shuang couldn't help but smile brightly at the welcoming party. These were his family members. Half a year to search for traces of the evil demon, and half a year to rest. Almost every transcendent was like this. Regardless of whether Donghua Shuang was in the Snowrock Castle or searching for traces of demons, he was wholeheartedly focused on his spear arts. The demons hid themselves very well. Only a few level 1 and 2 demons could not resist the temptation to devour human souls. The transcendents of the Xia people searched for them painstakingly. Only when they finally found them did they realize, after a year or two, all they found were level 1 and 2 demons. The Xia people understood as well. This was the calm before the storm. Demon wars were always tragic, and this kind of holding up was very abnormal. It would not last for long. Donghua Shuang also made use of this time to train his spear arts. Ho-ho-ho! The cold wind howled, and snow flew everywhere. At the beginning of the year, it was the coldest time of the year. At the peak of Snowrock Mountain, Jing Qiu walked over from afar and saw Donghua Shuang practicing his spear arts. Extreme piercing was a pure offensive true intent. The reason why Donghua Shuang was searching for other profound mysteries was to perfect his spear arts. And now, he was using the profound mysteries of the earth to encompass water, fire, and wind. To completely encompass and merge into one. This was the kind of vastness and harmony of the earth that he was pursuing. Rumble! Following Donghua Shuang's repeated adjustments, his spear arts continued to evolve. The laws of profound mysteries continued to be adjusted and perfected. Senior Snow Eagle usually stops after 6 hours of practice. Why hasn't he stopped today? Jing Qiu was curious as she watched from afar. She was here to call Donghua Shuang for lunch. Sister Jing Qiu, why hasn't my brother come for lunch? The food is getting cold. So, Qing Shi's figure flashed as he rushed over from afar. Don't be anxious, don't disturb your brother's training, Jing Qiu said. Since your brother has been training non-stop, he naturally has his own plans. You guys can eat first, don't wait. Oh. Qing Shi watched from the side for a while before muttering. I don't understand at all. So, he then left. His realm and Dongbu Shuiying's were too far apart. Although Dongbu Shuiying had given his brother some rare items from the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, his brother was still stuck at the Silver Moon Mage realm. Wanting to step into the legend rank was obviously not an easy task. After Dongbu Shuiying stepped into the Saint rank, normal resources would no longer be of much help to him. Only the truly rare and top-notch resources would be of little use. However, those resources were extremely precious. Even if he threw in 100,000 origin stones, he wouldn't be able to buy much of them. Furthermore, the benefits wouldn't be too exaggerated. Since that was the case, he might as well focus on his cultivation. The more he focused on his cultivation, the faster he would be able to improve. The snow was getting heavier. Jing Qiu could feel that Dongbu Shuiying's spear arts were getting stronger and stronger. Boom, boom, boom! Dongbu Shuiying's spear arts suddenly became incomparably heavy. Every move he made seemed to contain a terrifying might. The surrounding space seemed to have solidified, forming a gigantic sphere within 100 meters. Everything within the sphere was distorted, making it hard to see clearly. What's wrong? Jing Qiu looked down nervously. She discovered that the 100-meter-wide sphere was emitting a terrifying pressure. She was afraid that just a tiny bit of it would be enough to crush her to death. Inside the sphere, the cliff beneath Dongbu Shuiying's feet had already turned into dust. His entire body was floating in midair. When the four profound mysteries of earth, fire, water, and wind had completely merged into one, reaching the pinnacle of beauty that he was pursuing, everything began to change. The surrounding space started to solidify, and the gravity started to change. Faintly, Dongbu Shuiying seemed to see the vast snowy plains of the north. He seemed to see deserts, oases, plains, fields, snowy plains, deserts, oases, plains, mountains. There were weeds growing everywhere, dead trees crooked, rivers flowing, wild beasts sprinting, people dancing around bonfires, villagers cooking, smoke rising from the chimneys, armies galloping on horseback, and the earth quaking. There was wind blowing, seeds growing, flowers growing, water flowing, soil reviving, people relying on fire to survive, and everything was shrinking rapidly. Or perhaps, his field of vision was enlarging unceasingly. Dongbu Shuiying saw everything. After the boundless land shrank rapidly, it actually turned into a gigantic sphere. It was a star. The star rotated slowly on its own. There were many living things growing on it, including humans and beasts. Star? Dongbu Shuiying vaguely understood. The earth could bear the weight of all living things, eventually forming a star. It was the most perfect star. That's right. True inclusiveness should be perfect, without edges or corners. And the star was a perfect sphere. Every part of the earth was equal. The star was the most perfect form of the earth that conformed to the laws of nature. Today was the second night watch period. Tomorrow, the fourth night watch period would be completed. Chapter 191. Dongbu Shuiying stood in midair. With him at the center, everything within a 100-meter radius became distorted and blurry. The surface of his body was faintly protected by the laws of profound mysteries. His entire being was like the ruler of the surrounding space, with everything revolving around him. Who would have thought that using the earth to bear the weight of water, fire, and wind would allow me to grasp the embryonic form of the true meaning of star? Dongbu Shuiying thought. The true meaning of extreme piercing. It was not recorded in the 9-grade true meanings passed down in the deity world. But the true meaning of star was recorded within. The true meaning of star was classified as a grade 2 true meaning in the deity world. As a grade 2 true meaning, it was also a legendary true meaning with unfathomable power. Those who grasped the true meaning of star were extremely frightening. Their bodies were like stars. The true meaning of star's defense was as hard to shake as the stars themselves. Furthermore, every move they made was like a star smashing out. It was truly boundless strength. Furthermore, their bodies were like stars, forming an extremely powerful gravitational force around them. Thus, when experts who grasped the true meaning of star battled, the gravitational force around them, Any ordinary saint transcendents who dared to intrude would most likely have their bodies crushed by the gravitational force and die on the spot. This was an extremely balanced grade 2 true meaning. Extreme piercing was extremely extreme. Its attacks were extremely powerful. Currently, Dongbu Shuiying had only grasped the embryonic form of it. Thus, its power was not obvious. In reality, the true meaning of space was also an extremely balanced grade 2 true meaning. Its offense, defense, domain, and many other aspects were all balanced. An expert who grasped the complete true meaning of space could easily traverse between normal space, shadow space, and the layers of space. Teleportation was also extremely easy. He could even use his control over space to toy with and kill his opponent. The true meaning of star was the same. It was extremely balanced. His body was like a star, with an unshakable defense. His attacks were also extremely powerful. Furthermore, his surrounding gravity domain could suppress his opponent. When he battled, he was like a star, crushing everything in his path. Even though it was not unpredictable, such a direct suppression would give his opponent a huge headache. Grade 2 true meaning. Dongbu Shuiying pondered. Extreme piercing is a grade 2 true meaning, and the true meaning of star is also a grade 2 true meaning. Right now, I have grasped hold of the embryonic forms of 2 different grade 2 true meanings. He had already grasped the embryonic form. As long as he continued to perfect it, it wouldn't be long before he would be able to grasp the complete true intent. 2 grade 2 true meanings. It was heaven-defying. My marksmanship has also made up for many of my flaws. Dongbu Shuiying tried to execute his spear techniques. His spear danced about, and every single move he made contained a tremendous amount of power. In terms of strength and defense, Dongbu Shuiying was extremely proficient. It's a pity that it isn't a grade 1 true meaning. Dongbu Shuiying revealed a smile. He did have a glimmer of hope. Earth, water, fire, and wind, he felt that he might be able to form a perfect grade 1 true meaning. But what was a grade 1 true meaning? That was a legend among legends. It represented the true peak and most perfect true intent. In all aspects, be it reality or illusion, strength or speed, domain or soul, life or death, a grade 1 true meaning was perfect in all aspects. Even if one did not specialize in a certain aspect, they would still have the ability to protect themselves. For example, a terrifying existence who had grasped hold of the true meaning of extremity. Even if he could not control time, if he met someone who could, the threat they posed to him would be greatly reduced. Because his body was like a point of extremity, time acceleration, time stopping, the effects of an extremity would be greatly reduced. Thus, every single person who grasped hold of a grade 1 true meaning was extremely terrifying. As their true meaning grew stronger, it would become even more mysterious and unfathomable. The true meaning of star, with its heaven-defying defense and strength, could even be considered a grade 2 true meaning. Of course, it was still a legendary true meaning. The more profound mysteries one could fuse together, the better it would be. Sometimes, there would even be a side effect of drawing legs on a snake. For the sake of making up for the 3 true meanings of water, fire, and wind, Dongbu Shuiying had to ponder over them for a long time. It was only after seeing the shocking scene of the northern snowy plains that he was inspired to comprehend the true meaning of Earth. How could a grade 1 true meaning be so easy? Dongbu Shuiying was not disappointed. Instead, he was quite happy. Grade 1 true meaning, that was just a dream. It was purely a goal, a dream that he pursued. It was normal for him to not be able to achieve it. Because in the deity world, in the countless mortal worlds, and in the dark abyss, this was a legend. If he could achieve it, it would be a huge surprise. Being able to grasp the embryonic form of the true meaning of star this time, Dongbu Shuiying was already very satisfied. After all, extreme piercing was too extreme. Perhaps when he grasped hold of the complete true meaning in the future, his attacks would become even more terrifying. But if he was lacking in other aspects, he would be easily countered by his enemies. With the true meaning of star, his other aspects had been supplemented, and he no longer had any obvious flaws. Who? He retracted all his energy. With Dongbush swaying at the center, the sphere of void within 100 meters automatically dissipated. Snowflakes continued to fall. However, the cliff where he was originally training his spear had disappeared. Dongbush swaying stepped on the air and walked towards Jingqiu, who was watching the battle from afar. Senior disciple Snow Eagle, you seem to be in a good mood. Did you gain something? Jingqiu was very excited. Dongbush swaying smiled and nodded his head. Looking at that void sphere, it seemed to be very terrifying. I felt that I would lose my life if I were to enter it. Jingqiu exclaimed. It's still too early. It's only an embryonic form of true meaning, Dongbush swaying said. The embryonic form of true meaning was still very weak. The radius of the gravity domain was also very small, only 100 meters around him. Its power was also very weak. A peak sky realm transcendent would most likely die within the domain. Gravity acted on every part of the body, including the internal organs and the brain. Hence, even a peak sky realm transcendent's head would be warped and turned into a paste, dying on the spot. To directly kill a peak sane transcendent, one had to grasp the complete true meaning. Let's go. Let's return. Dongbush swaying looked at the sky. I reckon it will be time for dinner soon. In the afternoon, Qingshi came to call for you. I told him not to wait. Fortunately, he didn't. He waited until the sky turned dark. Jingqiu laughed. Qingshi. Dongbush swaying shook his head inwardly. When he was young, he doted on Qingshi too much. When he fell into the black wind abyss, his little brother started to work hard. But it was very difficult to change a character that had been nurtured since young. From Dongbush Ying's point of view, his little brother could be considered hardworking and was considered outstanding amongst mortals. But from his own cultivation experience, his little brother lacked a type of focus, which required him to abandon all mundane matters and focus all of his spiritual energy on cultivation. Forget it. Even though I've said it many times, it's still impossible for others to help with cultivation. I've let him live too comfortably in his youth. Dongbush swaying thought. If he could do it all over again, he might not be able to bear to treat his little brother too harshly. Dongbush swaying and Jingqiu walked side by side towards Snowrock Castle. The two of them left a continuous trail of footprints on the snowy ground. Today seemed like an ordinary day. In reality, the first person in the history of the Xia people to grasp two embryonic forms of grade 2 true meanings was born. Day after day passed. The transcendents of the Xia people searched everywhere, hoping to find traces of demons and kill them. But the demons were all holed up, causing the world of the Xia people to calm down. November 9665. Waves crashed against the shore. On one of the isolated mountains by the shore, there was a secluded castle. Within the castle, there were many guards patrolling. This was the residence of a powerful demigod existence of the Xia people. Before the invasion of the demons, the majority of demigods would focus on cultivation in order to become a god. Thus, they would choose a secluded place to focus on their cultivation. Cultivating by the sea was considered a relatively common thing. Chi. Inside the castle, in a secret hall, two huge black oil lamps were emitting sizzling sounds. The oil inside the oil lamps was dark red in color, while the flames were green in color. A faint, strange fragrance filled the entire hall. A figure stood there, his entire body shrouded in black fog, making it difficult for others to see his appearance. In front of him, there was a crystal ball floating in the air. On top of the crystal ball, 5 images appeared simultaneously. Each of the 5 images depicted a frightening demon with different appearances. There was a tall, ice-blue demon, a skinny demon with purple scales, an enchanting female demon with fiery red scales, a towering demon with a towering body. 5 generals, the figure in black fog said. First chapter. The second chapter would be updated soon. Chapter 192. High Priest. The 5 demon generals all called out. The black-shrouded figure in front of him was impressively the high priest of the demonic faction. Most of the transcendents of the Xia people were willing to fight for the mortals, for the entire Xia people. However, there were still some extremely selfish people who joined the demonic faction. This was because the strength of the demonic faction was much weaker than the other powers of the Xia people. Therefore, they could only hide in the dark. Every transcendent's identity was kept secret. As for the high priest, who had the highest status, he naturally had to keep it a secret. Even if he were to contact the 5 devil generals, he would not reveal his identity. Congratulations to the 5 generals for signing the abyssal oath, the black-shrouded figure said. Humph, congratulations? We should be the ones congratulating your demonic faction. We are now truly bound to your demonic faction. This will be of great help to your demonic faction in obtaining the faith of the Xia people's world. The towering demon coldly snorted. Obtaining the faith of the entire Xia people's world is not something that can be done in a single generation, said the figure in the black fog. Unless a demonic god is born among you. Once the demon god was born, they were truly invincible in the mortal world. Demon gods could only stay in the mortal world for 10,000 years at most. In the end, they still had to go to the dark abyss. This newly born demonic god must abide by the abyssal oath to help the demonic god guild obtain the faith of the Xia people's world. Although the demons would keep humans in captivity, it was too difficult for them to reproduce. As time passed, there would be fewer and fewer demons, and this world would ultimately belong to humans. Therefore, the demonic faction and the evil demons negotiated and finally signed the abyss oath. Although I am looking forward to one of you becoming a demon god, you should know that the possibility is very low, the figure in the black fog said. Thus, my greatest hope for you all is to help our demonic faction expand our faith. We are just helping each other. The red-scaled female devil's voice was sweet and tempting. We are on the same boat now. I will have to ask for your help in the future, High Priest. High Priest. Follow our previous request. First, give us all the maps of all the transcendent worlds in the Xia people's world. No problem. The High Priest immediately transmitted the map to the 5 demon generals through the crystal ball. In fact, the negotiation between the two sides was quite easy, because everyone understood what the other wanted, and there was no conflict. The reason why they had waited until now to sign the abyssal oath was because the 5 evil demon generals were very cautious. They had been collecting information about the Xia people's world for the past few years. A large number of demons hid their auras and identities and mingled in the human world, gathering more and more information. This allowed them to more or less understand the world of the Xia people. In the abyss, the 5 demon generals had experienced many battles and knew the importance of knowing oneself and the enemy. Therefore, they were willing to spend a few years to endure and try their best to understand the situation of the Xia people. Only then did he decide on how to cooperate with the demonic faction. 8 large transcendent worlds and over 100 small transcendent worlds. Very good. We have endured for so long. The Xia people transcendents wouldn't think that we would continue to endure, right? It's time for us to take action. The 5 demon generals were all looking forward to it. This was the most important part of their plan. Only with the help of the small transcendent world could they form an absolute advantage over the Xia people. Then I wish you all success in advance, the figure in the black fog said. Your demonic faction should also be careful. We do not know the transcendence of your demonic faction. If we accidentally kill one of your transcendents, then there's nothing we can do. The female demon general's voice was very pleasant to hear. Be obedient and hide as much as possible. Don't reveal any flaws. Otherwise, even if we kill you, it will be in vain unless you tell us the identity of the transcendents of the demonic faction. Our identity cannot be exposed, the figure in the black fog said. Rest assured, our transcendents of the demonic faction will be careful. Night, within the borders of the tranquil Sun province. On the side of the official road there was a group of people camped, setting up tents and lighting a bonfire. Puchi. Chi. A massacre was occurring within the group. Some of them had taken out their weapons and secretly attacked their companions. This was an ordinary caravan, and the strongest person in the group was only a heaven-rank knight. Facing a sneak attack without any warning, their companions were all killed. From the looks of it, this was a very ordinary internal strife within the group. The killing methods were also very ordinary. All right, the other hindrances have been dealt with. Dozens of people stood beside the bonfire. Let's go. One of the lean men opened his mouth. With a stretch of his hand, his fingers suddenly turned into sinister and sharp claws. The magic within his body also naturally spread out. If there was a transcendent heaven and earth energy enveloping this place, it would immediately be determined that this was a demon or a transcendent of the demonic faction. The transcendents of the demonic faction cultivated magic power, and their bodies also had magic hidden within. It was just that they usually restrained their magic power. With a casual swipe of his sharp claws, space was directly torn apart. Go! The lean man released his magic power, wrapping the dozens of people around him. Who? In an instant, they entered the crack in space, which quickly closed up. Within the turbulent and chaotic space, the dozens of people arrived. General, he has already reached the outskirts of the small transcendent world. Help us guard it. The lean man's entire body began to change, turning into a demon with black scales and a red horn. The other dozens of people also changed, revealing their original forms. All of them were demons. This time, they had been ordered to gather. Being cautious, they had all gathered in the form of mortals. Bang! Under the escort of the black-armored, red-horned demon, this large group of demons shuttled through the space between the two layers. In a breath's time, they arrived at another part of the space between the two layers. They saw that in front of them, there was an oval-shaped world connected to the inner membrane of the Xia people's world. You're here. The thin purple-armored demon appeared out of nowhere. There are no Xia people's demigods guarding this place. Go in. Yes, General. The dozens of demons all acknowledged the order. The membrane of this oval-shaped world was torn open, and they all entered. General Yanzhe watched this scene with anticipation in his eyes. To prevent any careless mistakes, he had sent one of his demonic doppelgangers to help guard this place. He was worried that the Xia people's demigods were here. This was because the team he had sent this time was too important. They were the true elites of the demons under his command. He had a total of 6 rank 5 demons under his command, and he had sent 3 this time. Thus, the price of any losses would be too high. His demonic doppelganger rushed over to check ahead of time. There were indeed no Xia people's demigods guarding this transcendent world. That's right, there were over 100 small-scale transcendent worlds. How many human demigods were there? Within the small-scale transcendent world, dozens of evil demons flew in, and the black-armored, red-horned evil demon in the lead coldly said, "This place will be our territory in the future. I don't want to see any trouble. Kill all the transcendent natives in this small world. Leave none alive." Yes. Among them were 3 rank 5 demons, 6 rank 4 demons, a group of rank 3 demons, and a few weak demons with high talents. Even the group of rank 3 demons were all peak saint-level transcendents. Not to mention that the strongest of them was ranked first on the saint leaderboard, almost comparable to a demigod. When such a large group of existences joined forces, they were comparable to half of the saint leaderboard. Furthermore, they were either immortal or had terrifying vitality. If they were to fight, even the top 30 of the saint leaderboard would find it difficult to gain an advantage in a life-and-death battle. As for the saint leaderboard, it was a list of humans, transcendent natives, and beasts. Thus, even if the human experts on the saint leaderboard joined forces, they would still be on par with this team. In this small-scale transcendent world, they were practically invincible. Second update. Chapter 193. The laws of a transcendent world were simple and crude, so the transcendent natives born there were weaker than primordial lifeforms. Compared to the demons born from the dark abyss, they were even weaker. Phew! A green-skinned transcendent native was running with large strides. With a single step, he could cover 3 to 4 miles. His running speed was even faster than flying. At this moment, he was panic-stricken and terrified. What's going on? Why are there so many demons? Weren't they fighting with the Xia people? How did they come to our transcendent world? Crescent Moon actually died in an instant. Damn it, damn it! The green-skinned transcendent native's eyes were filled with tears. He and Yuya had lived together in this transcendent world for many years, and their relationship was very deep. Whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared beside the transcendent native and stepped on his body. His feet were covered with scales and sharp nails, making him look extremely ugly. The surging magical power from his feet completely wrapped around the extraordinary native. You're running pretty fast, huh? It can actually shrink the ground? The demon in black grinned. You're very lucky. I'm going to spare your life. Hua! At this time, the other demons also appeared beside them. Wu Lang, I want this transcendent native. He can actually shrink the ground and flee. He might be of help to my true meaning of evolution, the black-robed demon said. Fine, the crimson-horned demon said coldly. Just imprison him and don't cause me any trouble. Don't worry, said the black-clad fiend. How many years have you been pondering over your wave intent? Until now, you have yet to succeed in evolving it. The crimson-horned demon snorted coldly. I think you should just give up. You have no chance to compete with me. The black-robed demon sneered and did not say anything. Both of them were rank 5 demons, but the crimson-horned demon was stronger, having grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. The black-robed demon had only grasped hold of a grade 4 true meaning, the true meaning of wave domain. Back in the dark abyss, he had been thinking of ways to comprehend other profound mysteries and even research other true meanings. He wanted the true meaning of wave domain to evolve into a grade 3 true meaning, the true meaning of wave. True intent evolution was very common in the dark abyss, and many demons were pursuing it. They all lived for a very long time. For the sake of survival, one would usually grasp a true intent as soon as possible. After that, he had to think of ways to evolve his true meaning to a higher level. However, this kind of evolution had to be done carefully, and could not be done recklessly. For instance, one of Emperor Yunhai's good friends, because of Emperor Yunhai's guidance, ended up suffering from qi deviation. His deity heart collapsed, and he died. Within 2 hours, all the transcendent natives in this transcendent world were swept away. Other than 3 who were captured alive, the rest were all killed. These demons immediately began to build palaces for their future residences. After spending 4 hours, a luxurious palace that covered an area of over 100 miles was completed. These demons lived in different areas of the palace according to their status. Contact the general. Within the main hall of the palace, a group of evil demons had gathered, and one of them, a red-horned evil demon, gave the order. Yes. A weak evil demon answered respectfully. The magic power in his body flew out, and formed an image in front of him. General Yen Zhe was on the screen. Wu Lang. The thin, small, violet-armored fiend, General Yen Zhe, spoke. General, we are ready. We await your orders at any time, the crimson-horned demon said respectfully. The other demons were also extremely respectful. Through the membrane of the world, communication treasures could not be used to communicate. However, due to the countless wars in the dark abyss, they had long since developed a way to deal with them. Amongst the countless weak evil demons, the demonic gods used cruel secret arts to nurture the heart-linking evil demons. This allowed 2 evil demons to sense each other's souls, allowing them to communicate even across 1 or 2 worlds. Unless the distance was too great, with too much space separating them. In the dark abyss, there were too many weak evil demons. Hence, the demonic gods did not care and cruelly nurtured them. Every evil demon army would have a few of these heart-linking evil demons. June 9666. Discovered Xia people transcendence, the weak evil demon reported. Finally, a Xia people transcendent. Let me go. I'll go. The evil demons were all excited and excited. Don't argue. I'll go this time. The Crimson Horn demon grinned and stuck out his scarlet tongue. Wu Lang, it's my turn this time. Wu Lang, you will have plenty of chances in the future. Let me go. The other two rank 5 evil demons wanted to go as well. The savagery in their bones made them thirsty for slaughter. Furthermore, killing a Xia people transcendent would give them a chance to obtain the soul of a transcendent. That was even more precious than the souls of tens of thousands of mortals. The Crimson Horn demon sneered. You two? Can you two tear through space on your own? We have subordinates. The other two rank 5 evil demons were somewhat unwilling. Amongst rank 4 and 3 evil demons, there were some who had talent in space. This time, the rank 3 evil demons they had brought with them were especially talented in this field. This is our first mission. We have to be perfect. So I'll go. The two of you can go next time. The Crimson Horn demon grinned. It's settled then. Hua. Immediately, a large amount of demonic energy flew out and formed a demonic doppelganger. Rip, the Crimson Horn demon waved his hand and tore open a crack in the transcendent world. The demonic doppelganger entered. The demonic doppelganger's entire body was made of demonic energy. It was unable to absorb energy from the outside world. Its existence and every action would constantly consume demonic energy. Once its demonic energy was depleted, it would die. The demonic doppelganger's soul would also be destroyed. Thus, a normal chi doppelganger or demonic doppelganger would rush back to the main body before it was depleted. Shwa. The Crimson Horn demon's demonic doppelganger tore open the inner membrane of the Xia people's world and once again arrived at the Xia people's world. Shwa! His demonic doppelganger already knew the location of the Xia people's transcendent. It also knew what this transcendent looked like. It directly tore through the void and rushed over. Qingling Shu stood in a mansion, her face full of anger. The mansion was filled with rivers of blood. However, there were many children in tattered clothes standing there, their faces sallow and emaciated, trembling with fear. This group of heartless scum! They are not fit to be called humans! Qingling Shu was incomparably angry. Although she had become a transcendent, her personality had always been cheerful and straightforward. She could not bear to see things that were too dark. The moment she saw it, she would definitely intervene. Children, wait here for a while. Someone will bring you away soon. Qingling Shu comforted the children. Using the power of heaven and earth, she had long discovered that a group of people from the Dragon Mountain Manor had already arrived outside the mansion. She immediately left. Shwa shwa. Although she was a transcendent mage, in order to hide her identity, she dressed as an adventurer. She also used a sharp sword in battle. With a transcendent body in a high realm, she was much stronger than ordinary legend rankers in battle. She easily left the mansion's courtyard. As she walked outside the mansion, she lightly shook her head. She had lived for many years and experienced many things. Her emotions gradually calmed down. Suddenly, a terrifying and evil aura appeared in midair a few miles away from her. That's... Qingling Shu turned her head and saw the Crimson Horn demon in the sky above the city. This demon's entire body was emitting a vast and wanton aura of magic power that was not concealed in the slightest. That invisible aura caused Qingling Shu to feel fear and pressure. She understood that the gap between them was too big. They were not even on the same level. Why did this demon release his aura? He did not conceal it at all? Qingling Shu instinctively reported to the Infernal Palace. Xia people's transcendent! The Crimson Horn demon's body moved. With a teleportation, he appeared beside Qingling Shu. At the same time, he extended his ugly demonic hand towards Qingling Shu's head. You are the first transcendent I have killed in the Xia people's world. You should feel honored to die by my hands. I've been exposed. Qingling Shu was shocked. Third update. Chapter 194. Qingling Shu immediately activated the life-saving spell scroll she carried with her. A layer of faint ripples appeared on the surface of her body. Chi. The crimson horn demon's claw swiped down, its sharp nails causing numerous spatial cracks to appear. When it clawed at the ripples on the surface of Qingling Shu's body, the ripples trembled violently, and their power weakened. You're actually a transcendent mage? The crimson horn demon's demonic avatar immediately swiped down a second time. At the same time, Qingling Shu activated another life-saving scroll. A ripple wrapped around her as she tried to forcefully tear through the void to escape. Trying to tear through the void in front of me? The crimson horn demon smirked. His right claw, which was about to swipe down, suddenly opened up and grabbed at the void. Bang! The space within 100 meters of her was instantly shattered. The streets, pedestrians, shops, and everything else within this 100 meters were all shattered along with the shattered space. The faint ripples on the surface of Qingling Shu's body, which was already weak, were completely shattered. Even her body could not resist this frightening shattering force, and her body was instantly shattered. Grade 3 true meaning, spatial shattering. Am I dead? Qingling Shu's soul survived even though her body had died. Transcendent mages are indeed difficult to deal with. I almost let you escape. The crimson horn demon extended his hand once more. Demonic energy surged on his claws as he grabbed at Qingling Shu's soul in an attempt to imprison it. After all, this was just a demonic avatar, and it could not devour souls. I originally thought that I would experience many battles and kill quite a few demons before dying a heroic death. But I never thought that I would die before even killing a single demon. Qingling Shu did not feel too much grief. Transcendents often tempered themselves between life and death. They had long since gained an understanding of death and were even prepared for it. I'm a little unwilling. But my life has been glorious enough, haha. But demon, if you want this beauty's soul, dream on. Qingling Shu's translucent soul, with a smile on her face, suddenly exploded. Ah! Damn, I hate mages. The crimson horn demon was completely enraged. The soul of a transcendent mage had actually self-destructed. Transcendent knights and mages were completely different. Transcendent knights did not have much research in the field of souls, so when they were killed, it was easy for their souls to be captured. However, mages were different. Some legend-ranked mages had already started researching on seizing bodies. Some had even been pondering over souls and fleshly bodies. As for the transcendent mages, each of them had a deep understanding of the soul. Just a little bit more. The crimson horn demon wasn't willing to give up. He had acted quickly, and as long as he could grab hold of that soul, the other party would no longer be able to self-destruct. Unfortunately, this Xia people's transcendent female mage did not hesitate at all. Normal transcendents would hesitate before detonating their souls. Humph! Grabbing the storage treasure left behind by Qingling Shu, the red-horned demon's demonic avatar immediately shuttled through the void and left. From the moment he descended, he had only attacked with a few claws. It was too fast. With Qingling Shu's current strength, it was impossible for her to face the attack head-on. She could only rely on her life-saving scrolls to resist, but it was a pity that she was unable to escape. The space in this area was completely shattered, and a huge crater appeared on the street. It was completely bare. Countless people in the distance who were not affected were completely stunned. Very soon. Phew! Old man Chao Qing tore through the void and appeared. Following closely behind, Qiu Qibai tore through space and arrived. Ling Shu. Qiu Qibai's face turned pale. The transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province were really on good terms with each other. Qingling Shu was one of the younger ones, and had a straightforward personality. Qiu Qibai never expected that Qingling Shu would actually die in the hands of a demon. Qingling Shu is a transcendent mage, and all transcendent mages would carry life-saving scrolls with them. She should be able to escape even if she were to face a transcendent at the peak of the Saint Realm. Why didn't she escape this time? Old man Chao Qing's heart ached. Although Qingling Shu's lifespan was longer than that of a mortal, she was still very young among the transcendents. Go! Dongbush Shuang rode on a snow-treading demonic beast colt as he traveled on the official road. He looked like a common lone ranger. He was constantly using his heaven and earth energy to scan the area within 100 miles. Recently, there were actually 2 transcendents who were killed by a demon. Dongbush Shuang furrowed his brows. The Infernal Palace had also ordered all the Xia people's transcendents to be more cautious. During the search, they had to treat themselves as mortals. Other than using the heaven and earth energy to scan, they were forbidden from using any other transcendent abilities to prevent themselves from being exposed. Hence, he always rode a horse. But no matter how careful he was, at a certain crucial moment, he would try his luck or inadvertently make a transcendent move. After all, many transcendents had been transcendents for hundreds or even thousands of years. Many things had already become a habit. His daily actions and actions might reveal traces of his extraordinary power if he was slightly distracted and careless. In some dangerous situations, they might even be forced to use powers that surpass mortals. Hence, it was extremely difficult to hide. Transcendent Qingling Shu has been killed by a demon! A piece of news was transmitted to all the Xia people's transcendents through the Infernal Palace. Dongbush Shuang, who was originally riding on a horse, was stunned. He sat on the horse in a daze. The colt did not feel pressured, and after galloping for a while, it started to slow down. It even stopped and walked to the side to eat grass. Sister Ling Shu? Dongbush Shuang felt his heart ache. My name is Qingling Shu. In the future you can just call me Sister Ling Shu. Calling me Big Sister feels weird. He still remembered what Qingling Shu said when they first met. Sister Ling Shu. At that time, Dongbush Shuang called out obediently. He still remembered how excited she was when she made a huge profit from the transcendent battle of life and death. Later on, she also made a huge profit from the battle with Yuan Qing. She was simply a gambling god. Before Dongbush Shuang joined the group of transcendents in Tranquil Sun Province, Qingling Shu was the youngest one among them. How? Dongbush Shuang could not believe that this extremely cheerful Sister Ling Shu would actually die in the early stages of the Demon War. He knew that many transcendents would die in this Demon War, but he never thought that Sister Ling Shu would actually die in the early stages of the Demon War. She was a sorcerer, and sorcerers had many ways to protect themselves. Usually, they would be able to escape with their lives. On horseback, Dongbush Shuang only regained his senses after a while. Brother Eternal Wind, where did Sister Ling Shu die? Dongbush Shuang asked through the communication wristband. In a small city called Feng City, Chichio Bai replied. So! In an instant, Dongbush Shuang soared into the skies. His speed was raised to the limit as he rushed towards Feng City. Although the Infernal Palace had asked them to conceal their tracks, Dongbush Shuang couldn't be bothered about it anymore. If they were to be exposed, then so be it. Even a rank 4 demon wasn't a match for him. A rank 5 demon wouldn't be able to kill him in a breath's time. Furthermore, he still had the protective treasure of the Xia people on him. He could even defend against a demigod-rank demon. Maybe it was a little presumptuous, but Dongbush Shuang really wanted to reach the place where Sister Ling Shu died as soon as possible. After flying for a short while, they had already traversed over 20,000 miles. We're here. Dongbush Shuang saw a small city below him. It was an extremely beautiful city, and there were many maple trees growing in the city. The maple trees had already become the symbol of this small city. South. Descending from the sky, he directly landed in this small city, beside that huge pit. The area of a mile around the pit was completely sealed. At this moment, Qiu Qi Bai, Old Fogey Chao Qing and Si Kong Yang were all here. Snow Eagle, you're here. Qiu Qi Bai looked over. You flew over just like that? Old Fogey Chao Qing stared at him angrily. Don't you know that the demons are hiding in various places? They are also paying attention to your tracks? Yet you flew over just like that. Even if you fly very high, the chances of them discovering you is very low. But what if they discover you? Don't tell me you want to die under the sneak attacks of the demons? Vice Abbot, Dongbush Shuang hurriedly said. I have a protective treasure that can defend against demigods. Old fogey Chao Qing was shocked. He turned to look at Si Kong Yang by his side. Si Kong Yang nodded his head in confirmation. Only then did Chao Qing stop cursing. He guessed that Dongbui Shuiying had exchanged the contribution points from the Devil's Well for a certain protective treasure. Even so, we still have to be cautious. Old fogey Chao Qing sighed. It's good that this old man is the one who died. Ling Shu was still very young. Is there nothing left? Dongbui Shuiying looked at the huge crater. The surrounding nothingness had shattered. The space has completely shattered. Old fogey Chao Qing shook his head. There isn't even a corpse. It was only the communication wristband that notified the Infernal Palace when she died. Did you find the demon? Dongbui Shuiying forcefully suppressed his anger. They had been good friends for 30 years. They had known each other in the Xia capital for 30 years. Yet she left just like that. Even her corpse had turned into ashes. I followed the fluctuations in space and chased after her. However, I only managed to trace her to the void layer before losing track of her. Qiu Qibai shook his head. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Damn it! I will definitely find that damnable fellow. I must find her. The sadness in Qiu Qibai's heart was not any less than that of Dongbui Shuiying. He had watched Qing Lingshu grow from a young genius mage to a young girl. He treated this pure and innocent female mage as his little sister. End of fourth watch. Star. Chapter 195. Dongbui Shuiying, Qiu Qibai, Chao Qing, and Si Kong Yang were all looking at the pit. They could no longer find Qing Lingshu's corpse, so they could only stand in front of the pit and silently pay their respects. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Ling Shu, have a safe journey, Qiu Qibai said softly. Sister Ling Shu, we will definitely kill all those demons, Dongbui Shuiying said softly. Although his voice was soft, it was like a promise. Perhaps others were too arrogant when they said this, or perhaps it was normal for a war of this level to last for thousands of years in the history of the Xia people. However, Dongbui Shuiying was very confident in himself. He had at least 2 grade 2 true meanings. The moment he stepped into the demigod realm, he would truly surpass all the demigods in the history of the Xia people. He would become the strongest demigod in the history of the Xia people, and he would be able to sweep away all those demons by himself. However, this required time. Dongbui Shuiying could only endure silently like a lone wolf sharpening its claws, silently waiting for himself to grow stronger. A transcendence life. Little girl, you've already lived a very exciting life, Old Man Chao Qing said. In the long history of the Xia people, there were countless transcendents who sacrificed their lives for the Xia people. In the river of time, you might be very ordinary, but every single one of you is the pride of the Xia people, the heroes of the Xia people. Si Kong Yang's eyes were burning with a flame. In my eyes, you are more worthy of respect than those selfish demonic faction demigods. Si Kong Yang was a very arrogant and overbearing person. However, facing these transcendents who sacrificed their lives for the Xia people, he was also filled with respect. Dongbui Shuiying and Qiu Qibai soon parted ways. After buying a snow strider horse, Dongbui Shuiying rode it and began his journey to find traces of the demons. Dongbui Shuiying's heart ached at the death of Sister Ling Shu. He had lived for so many years, but there were not many people he treated as friends. He cherished every single one of them. However, no matter how much his heart ached, he could only suppress it. Because this was a war with the demons. It was normal for people to die. If transcendents like them hid and did not dare to fight, then millions of mortals would die. Go! Dongbui Shuiying was riding on a horse, galloping on the main road. His appearance had changed greatly. He had turned into a middle-aged man with white sideburns. He carried a saber and a bag on his back. Although the transcendents of the Xia people were incomparably furious, they became even more cautious. Similarly, the transcendents of the Xia people were also discovered. Every time, a Tier 5 demon's mana doppelganger attacked, To the majority of the transcendents of the Xia people, a fifth-rank demon was in existence that could be easily crushed. Only transcendent mages with strange methods and life-saving items could escape. Transcendent knights, on the other hand, would most likely die if they were discovered. In the past year, 5 transcendents from the Xia people have died! Infernal World, Infernal Palace, Doyen Hall. The Doyen of the Xia people were in a discussion. Although they were overseeing the mortal world and hunting down all suspected demons, at this moment, they had sent their Qi doppelgangers to the Xia capital. We have tried to track them down many times, but we were never able to find them again. Palace Lord Chen's eyes were as calm as ever. Furthermore, the 5 transcendents who died recently were all ambushed. They had just reported to the Infernal Palace, and they immediately died in battle. All of them were completely suppressed and killed. When they discovered the demons, they all said that they were extremely powerful. Clearly, they did not conceal their demonic auras. According to many deductions, we can be sure that these damned demons have already sent out their most powerful Tier 5 and Tier 4 demons into a few minor transcendent worlds. Palace Lord Chen said. Humph. See Deity Palace Lord Taishu Chen gritted his teeth. Ever since the demons invaded, we have set up several alarm arrays at the entrance of these minor transcendent worlds. However, none of these arrays have been activated. Clearly, these demons have found those minor transcendent worlds in the chaotic space. It must be those damned traitors from the demonic faction. How big was the space between? Furthermore, it was extremely dangerous. Trying to find the exact location of a minor transcendent world in the vast and chaotic space between was extremely difficult. Unless one first entered the minor transcendent world, then tore through the membrane of the minor transcendent world to arrive at the space between, then confirm their exact location. However, those entrances were all equipped with alarm arrays. The demons did not pass through these arrays, yet they were able to enter the minor transcendent worlds. It was obvious that they had obtained an accurate map. Every time the demons invade, the demonic faction would always collude with them. In their eyes, even if countless humans were to be slaughtered, they would not care. Sikong Yang was also incomparably furious. Usually causing trouble is one thing, but now they are even colluding with the demons. The enchanting and beautiful City Lord Bu's eyes flashed with a cold light. She was the first to discover the invasion of the demons, and massacred a large number of them. Right now, everyone should think of a way to break it. Mountain Lord, he said. A demigod cannot enter a minor transcendent world. Sigh, how do we break it? The elders were all frowning with worry. They had many ideas, but none of them said it out loud. This was because the history of the Xia people was very long, and they had already encountered similar situations when fighting against the demons. However, this was practically unsolvable. This is also what we are most afraid of, Palace Lord Chen said. We previously placed many alarm arrays at the world entrances, but it was useless. With the help of the demonic faction, the elites of the demons were still able to enter the minor transcendent world. We have an overwhelming advantage in terms of demigods, but below that, the demons have an overwhelming advantage. The demons had an advantage in numbers. It was said that in the dark abyss, the demons were endless. For example, a large beach in the dark abyss could give birth to hundreds of millions of demons. Even if it was just a space passage that connected to a world in the dark abyss, it was still able to attract so many demons. There is no other way. If only the deity world warriors could enter. City Lord Bu frowned. Unfortunately, the laws of nature also consider the deity world warriors as demigod life forms. The deity world warriors were sent down by the ancestors of the Xia people. All of them were unfathomably powerful and had the strength of a peak demigod. All of them had an extremely strong true meaning. In fact, they did not have souls, and even if they did, they were incomplete. They were powerful weapons of war created by the deities. From the perspective of transcendence and deities, they should not be considered as life forms. But they had intelligence and could think. They could even grasp techniques and the mysteries of the world, and even grasp true meanings. Under the laws of nature, they were considered life forms. Like the deity world warriors, there were deity world warriors that could match the strength of a deity. The ancestors of the Xia people were willing to send such deity world warriors back, but unfortunately, the mortal world rejected them. They did not allow such powerful existences to descend. The same logic. The minor transcendent world also prohibited all demigod refiner organisms and transcendent life forms from entering. Otherwise, the Xia people would have easily swept away those transcendent aboriginals. To kill their way in, the only way is to let the powerful transcendent mages bring some demigod spell scrolls and similar treasures. Mountain Lord, he shook his head. But based on past experience, the moment the demons enter a minor transcendent world, they will definitely establish a nest. They will arrange an array. Even a demigod would need some time to break through the array they arrange. Let a few Saint Realm transcendents enter. Their insight and realms are relatively low, so the possibility of breaking through the array is extremely low. Even the array at Snowrock Castle could trap a demigod demon for a long time. And the demons that killed their way in were the demon army. As an army, they had made preparations for all aspects. This time, they had arranged for a total of 5 elite demon squads to be stationed in 5 minor transcendent worlds. Naturally, they had arranged arrays. These arrays were even more powerful than the ones at Dongbua Shui Ying's Snowrock Castle. Illusions, entrapment, massacres, etc. In short, if it was a demigod expert with an extremely high insight and boundless strength, they could still break through the array after spending some time. After all, the energy of the array had a limit. But if it was a Saint Realm transcendent mage, just bringing a few scrolls and the like would not be able to break through the array. The transcendents of this era are fated to be sacrificed and paid. Palace Lord Chen's eyes were filled with grief. The number of demigods dying was still extremely few, but the number of transcendents below the demigod realm would increase in the future. But if they did not fight, just relying on the few demigods of the Xia people would not be able to patrol the entire land of the Xia people. There's no other way. Mountain Lord, he shook his head. Today, there was only one night watch. Tomorrow, there would be another night watch. Chapter 196. P.S. There are many types of deity warriors, and some have incomplete souls. The previous chapter has been edited. In the Elder Hall, the elders of the Xia clan knew that the occupation of the minor transcendent worlds by those rank 5 and 4 demons was practically unstoppable. But they could not give up. Because according to history, if these demons were allowed to occupy the minor transcendent worlds, they would wantonly use their demonic avatars to attack the transcendents of Xia people again and again. When that time came, the casualties of the transcendents of Xia people would be very tragic. If they were to fight against ordinary demons, the transcendents of Xia people would have a chance to survive. But against the demonic avatars of the 5th rank demons, the chances were too low. This is their strongest killing move. City Lady Boo's eyes were filled with unwillingness. I hope everyone can think of a way to reduce the casualties of our transcendents. Amen. We will naturally do our best. Perhaps the arrays of the demons' lair in the minor transcendent worlds would be weaker? We still have to try. The demigod transcendent mages also racked their brains and suggested some plans, which were then refuted by the other demigods. In the process of proposing and refuting, many plans were eliminated, and some were improved. After 3 days of discussion, the Elder Hall finally decided on 5 plans. A total of 6 human transcendents ranked at the top of the saint rankings would use their chi avatars, magic avatars, to kill their way into the minor transcendent worlds with treasures. These 6 experts would form a team, with 3 of them being transcendent mages. The treasures they would bring were mainly used to break the arrays. After all, to kill their way in, they would first have to break the arrays. If they couldn't, they would definitely lose. Half a month later. Everything was ready. Mountain Lord He and City Lady Boo personally led the 6 saint-rank transcendents. At the peak of a mountain, the wind was biting cold. Mountain Lord He and the others were currently gathered at the peak. The 6 of you. City Lady Boo looked at the chi avatars, magic avatars, of the 6 saint-rank transcendents. You should be clear of the importance of this operation. Once you enter the minor transcendent worlds, you can only rely on yourselves. You have to be cautious and try your best to break the arrays. Once you do, you can use demigod rank scrolls to smash them to death. In terms of foundation, these demon armies could not be compared to the Xia people. In the dark abyss, the demon gods were very stingy. It was almost impossible for a demigod demon to obtain a divine weapon. As for the Xia people, with the help of generations of Xia people's ancestors, as well as some powerful scrolls and treasures that were refined by some experts who had become gods before they went to the god realm. After accumulating it from generation to generation, it was very terrifying. Of course, because they would encounter all kinds of dangers over the long years, Xia people had to use them sparingly. When it comes to demigods, we wield divine weapons. Xia people have an overwhelming advantage over the demigods. City Lady Boo's voice was filled with killing intent. Furthermore, the deity realm soldiers have yet to make a move. The demon generals were unable to hide in the minor extraordinary worlds. Therefore, these demigod demons were of no concern at all. They could only hide in their shells. If they dared to show up, we would beat them to death. But there are too many evil demons below the demigod rank. City Lady Boo gritted her teeth and said, "They have the absolute advantage. Now that their elite rank 5 and rank 4 evil demons are hiding in the minor extraordinary worlds, their true bodies are no longer a threat. They can send their demonic avatars to carry out sneak attacks. If this goes on, looking at the history of the demon wars, even if the transcendents of this era are very careful and have many tricks up their sleeves, by the time the war ends, more than 80% of them will have died." City Lady Boo said, "I really don't want to see that scene. We demigods hate ourselves for being so powerless. If you fail, then we will no longer have any hope. This is the biggest crisis of Xia people's transcendence, the biggest calamity." City Lady Boo looked at them. "As long as we can resolve this crisis, the losses caused by the demon wars will be greatly reduced. If they did not have a minor extraordinary world as their base, if a rank 5 evil demon's demonic avatar dared to launch a sneak attack, the demigods of Xia people would have hope of finding their true bodies by following the spatial fluctuations. Xia people's transcendents could use the power of heaven and earth to investigate their surroundings. If they were hiding in a mortal world, perhaps their demonic avatar would be discovered as soon as it was about to move, and even their base would be discovered." "Understood. City Lady Boo, we will do our best. We will definitely do our best to break the array." The 6 transcendents all agreed. They were chosen because they had their own set of methods to decipher formations. In fact, they were not inferior to demigods in certain aspects of deciphering formations. Unfortunately, a demigod had a huge advantage, and that was their inexhaustible power. Demigods could forcefully attack again and again, thousands or even tens of thousands of times. In the end, the array's power would be exhausted. But what about them? They were weak, so they could only rely on treasures. A single demigod rank magic scroll was only equivalent to a single attack from a demigod. Even if there were 100 magic scrolls, it would only be equivalent to 100 attacks. How could it compare to the endless attacks of a true demigod? That was why they wanted to forcefully break the array. Xia people could not afford to play such a game no matter how rich their foundation was. The materials used for each of these treasures were not cheap. "It's up to you all." Mountain Lord He and City Lady Boo led them into the void and brought them to the membrane of a minor transcendent world. They then tore through the membrane and sent them in. After the 6 transcendent chi avatars and magic avatars entered, they borrowed the power of heaven and earth to investigate. There were many minor transcendent worlds, and they tried to find them one by one. After spending more than 2 hours, they had searched through over 30 minor transcendent worlds and finally found the first world where the demons were stationed. "Xia people's transcendents have arrived. Ha ha, come, let's see what these transcendents of the Xia people can do." A towering palace was heavily guarded. Many arrays had already been set up. These were all arrays frequently used by the Demon Legion in battle. They were extremely effective. These rank 5 and rank 4 demons were very relaxed as they watched the battle. They watched as the transcendence of the Xia people unraveled the array. In the void outside the membrane of the minor transcendent world, Mountain Lord He and City Lady Boo were anxiously waiting. Even though they had cultivated their spirit to their level, they were still anxious and nervous at this moment. This was because the transcendents of the Xia people were the most knowledgeable when it came to arrays among the Saint Realm transcendents. The treasures used this time were also the most suitable. If these 6 transcendents could not even unravel a single array, then there was really no other way. Of course, Mountain Lord He and City Lady Boo did not know that Dongbua Shuang had grasped hold of an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. This matter was highly confidential. The 6 transcendents were unraveling the array. Their true bodies were also communicating with the demigods of the Xia people through their communication wristbands, and the demigods of the Xia people were also giving them suggestions. It was a pity that they could not see it with their own eyes. After all, there were many profound undulations of the array. It was not something that could be clearly described with a simple picture or description. After more than 2 hours, they have entered the array and are unable to advance. They can't escape either. Their chi avatars and magic avatars can no longer support them, so they have chosen to use all the treasures they brought. A message was transmitted. Boom! It was accompanied by a huge explosion. Mountain Lord He and City Lady Boo stood in the chaotic void between space. They could see a distant space membrane directly exploding and tearing apart. The minor transcendent world within was also surging with energy. A large amount of treasures were clearly used up in one go. And that torn space membrane was rapidly mending back together. They didn't even manage to break the outermost array. Mountain Lord He sighed. We were too optimistic. Damn. City Lady Boo gritted her teeth. Her eyes were filled with fury. They were hoping that this was a mixed army of demons, and that their array was weaker. But in reality, this was an extremely complete army of demons. There were no major flaws in any aspect. In terms of arrays, they were equally formidable. Xia people had asked the 6 Saint Realm Transcendents to prepare a method, yet they were unable to even break the outermost array. This fact completely shattered the last strand of hope of the Xia people's demigods. First update. Chapter 197. Snow Eagle Territory. On one of the peaks of Snowrock Mountain, Dongbua Shuang and Jingqiu were taking a stroll together. Jingqiu, you can go back first. Call me when it's time for dinner. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Amen. Jingqiu laughed as she turned and left. Seeing Jingqiu's departing figure, Dongbua Shuang felt an invisible pressure lashing at his heart. He was enjoying his current life, but he had to protect it. He had to protect it from being destroyed. The demons are getting more and more arrogant. I have to quickly raise my strength and grasp the complete true meaning. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. He stopped thinking about it, and sat cross-legged on the ice-cold mountain peak. The pressure in his heart was tossed to the back of his mind, and all his thoughts were focused on the profound mysteries of earth, fire, water, and wind. He had to first raise his profound mysteries before fusing them together. Be it the embryonic form of the true meaning of extreme piercing or the embryonic form of the true meaning of star, they were the result of fusing the profound mysteries of earth, fire, water, and wind. Illusions. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. One could see 6 Shuangs sitting cross-legged on the mountain peak soundlessly appearing at the same time. The 6 black-robed Dongbua Shuang were all in deep thought. Back then, I relied on the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind to grasp the embryonic form of the true meaning of illusions. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself, and when I fused the profound mysteries of earth, fire, water, and wind, it actually didn't destroy the embryonic form of the true meaning of illusions. Instead, it became stronger. And it seems like the profound mysteries of earth is of great help to the embryonic form of the true meaning of illusions. As he continued to ponder, he realized that in the illusions, because of the profound mysteries of earth, his own illusions seemed to have a soul. There was a sort of stability, and it wasn't as pure as before. Therefore, as Dongbu Shui Ying's understanding of the profound mysteries of Earth increased, he also constantly adjusted the fusion method of the four profound mysteries of the embryonic form of the true meaning of illusions. At the start, water, fire, and wind were the main three elements. The profound mysteries of the earth were slowly and carefully integrated into it, for fear of destroying the embryonic form of this true meaning. Even though he already had the embryonic forms of extreme piercing and star, he still attached great importance to Dongbu Shui Ying's illusion true meaning. After all, the moment he grasped hold of the complete grade 3 true meaning of illusions, the threat he posed to his enemies would greatly increase. However, as time passed, Dongbu Shuiying realized that the earth profundity was no longer just a support to the true meaning of illusions. Instead, it was an extremely important part of it. Its importance had even surpassed water, fire, and wind, becoming the most important. Dongbu Shuiying had been adjusting the fusion method of the earth, fire, water, and wind elements, striving to perfect the true meaning of illusions. This is. The six Dongbu Shuiying's faces were suddenly filled with shock. The six of them looked in all directions. They could see the mountain peak that they were originally sitting cross-legged trembling. Countless mountain rocks were sent flying towards the mountain peak, causing the mountain peak to rapidly increase in size. The entire mountain peak was rapidly expanding. Amen? The six Dongbu Shuiyings raised their heads and looked towards the sky. It was originally afternoon, but at this moment, dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky. Countless dark clouds rolled over and covered the entire sky, causing the entire world to become pitch black. See-la, the countless dark clouds were suddenly torn apart. A huge hand pierced through the dark clouds, appearing in front of Dongbu Shuiying. The six Dongbu Shuiyings stood up at the same time. Retreat, Dongbu Shuiying said. All the dark clouds had completely retreated. That huge hand came down from the void, stopping right in front of Dongbu Shuiying. Sunset, moonrise, Dongbu Shuiying said again. The sun in the sky was rapidly descending towards the west, and the moon was gradually rising. The ocean. Dongbu Shuiying smiled. All of a sudden, countless waves surged over from afar, drowning the entire mountain range. The entire eastern side of Snowrock Mountain had turned into a boundless ocean. The waves were rolling, and some foam could be seen. The seawater gradually calmed down. Fishing boats could be seen on the surface of the ocean. Some seabirds could even be seen flying in the sky. A huge fish could be seen leaping out of the ocean. How mysterious! Dongbu Shuiying muttered to himself. Shua, the huge hand, the boundless ocean, the huge mountains, the seabirds, the fishing boats, the dark night, the moon, everything disappeared. Everything returned to its original state. It was still afternoon. Snowrock Mountain was still the same as before. The people in the distant Snowrock Castle were still living their lives, not noticing the previous commotion. Mirage? Dongbu Shuiying's heart was incomparably excited. The four elements of earth, water, fire, and wind can actually form the embryonic form of the mirage. Dongbu Shuiying was incomparably shocked. The true meaning of mirage was a grade 2 true meaning. Furthermore, it was ranked at the bottom of all grade 2 true meanings in terms of pure offensive power. Those who grasped hold of this grade 2 true meaning could barely reach the threshold of a demigod in terms of offensive power. One had to know that a saint who grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning would be able to display the combat power of a demigod, and their offensive power would be slightly stronger than the true meaning of mirage. But it was a grade 2 true meaning. The higher the level of a true meaning, the harder it was to improve. As a legendary true meaning, its offensive power was weaker than a grade 3 true meaning? But to many experts, they would rather meet someone who grasped hold of other grade 2 true meanings than an enemy who grasped hold of the true meaning of mirage. What was the mirage? The contrast between reality and illusion. The world of normal living, this was the real world. And on the other side of the real world, there was a corresponding illusory world. In other words, the mirage. The mirage was a world of its own. It could be said to be the source of all illusory techniques. No illusory technique could surpass the mirage of mirage. Once this true meaning was mastered, it would be able to control the illusory world. Within the illusory world, everything could be done as one wished. Other than that, there were many other strange and powerful aspects to it. Right now, I have only grasped hold of the embryonic form of the true meaning of mirage. Dongwu Shuang was shocked. And yet, it is already so unfathomable. At the embryonic form stage, he could create unfathomable illusory techniques. Changing the world was an easy task for him. Stealthily, he could cause the enemy to fall into an illusory technique without them knowing. Then, he could take their lives. Dongwu Shuang muttered. I've heard that experts who have grasped hold of the true meaning of mirage can hide within the mirage, and their enemies would not be able to find their true bodies. That's right. Experts who had grasped hold of the true meaning of mirage had very weak offensive capabilities. But it was extremely difficult to find their true bodies. Back then, the Grade 2 true meanings left behind by the deity world had very vague records regarding the true meaning of mirage. It was only because the ancestors of the Xia people had passed down many secret messages. One of them was related to the true meaning of mirage. An expert who had grasped hold of the true meaning of mirage would not need to use his true body to kill within the mirage. Thus, he would not need to use his true body to kill. How difficult would it be to find his true body? Even if he were to hide within the mirage, his enemies would not be able to find him. Because his enemies were in the real world, without any methods to attack the mirage, they would not be able to harm those who walked within the mirage. I originally wanted to perfect the true meaning of mirage, but who would have thought that after fusing with the profound mystery of Earth, and even using the profound mystery of Earth as the main one? Not only did I not destroy it, I even allowed it to improve, allowing me to grasp the embryonic form of the true meaning of mirage. Dongwu Shuang was shocked. Fusing them was an extremely difficult task. Just the fusion of the profound mysteries of water and fire was enough to trap many people. 3 was even more heaven-defying, let alone 4. Even the profound mystery of Earth could be divided into many aspects. Just the path of the Earth was sufficient for one to cultivate to become a deity. Dongwu Shuang had chosen the aspect of the Earth's ability to bear and contain. This was precisely what his spear techniques required. He had chosen the 4 different aspects of the profound mysteries of earth, fire, water, and wind. As the saying went, a flower planted intentionally will not bloom, but a willow planted unintentionally will grow into shade. However, when cultivators pursued the so-called powerful true meaning of a flower planted intentionally, if the flower bloomed, that would be a real joke. As for a willow planted unintentionally, was it really unintentional? Having grasped hold of 3 embryonic forms of Grade 2 true meanings, Dongwu Shuang understood that if he were to be exposed, the demonic faction, demons, and others would not hesitate to pay any price to eliminate him. After all, he was only a single step away from grasping the complete true meaning. Currently, he was at his weakest. After grasping hold of the embryonic form of the true meaning of mirage, Dongwu Shuang had the confidence of surviving a battle against a rank 5 demon. But against a demigod, he was still much weaker. Thus, he had to endure. As for the embryonic forms of the true meaning of star and true meaning of mirage, Dongwu Shuang did not tell anyone else. He had to minimize the possibility of this secret being leaked. The second chapter. Chapter 198. Night fell, Water Rights Town. On the second floor of a quiet and elegant restaurant, Dongwu Shuang and Jingqiu sat there eating dinner together. There were no fire crystal lamps on the second floor, but instead, there were lanterns. Under the hazy illumination of the lanterns, some lanterns were red, some were purple, and some were blue. The entire second floor of the restaurant was like a dream. There were many pairs of men and women walking around. Dongwu Shuang and Jingqiu's appearance had slightly changed. As long as the lines of their faces were slightly adjusted, their faces would be unrecognizable to strangers. Usually, when the 2 of them were in Snowrock Castle, they would occasionally come to Water Rights Town for a stroll. It's so lively! Jingqiu propped her chin on her hand as she looked at the streets below. There were many people walking on the streets. Along the streets, there were all kinds of sounds of shops and restaurants trying to attract customers. There were also some luxurious carriages with mighty cavalry guards. With a glance, one could tell that these carriages belonged to wealthy nobles. Although many nobles and wealthy merchants were rushing to the provincial capital, every inch of land in the provincial capital was extremely expensive. However, every inch of land in the provincial capital was worth its weight in gold. Even the great nobles could only afford a small courtyard to accommodate their direct descendants. There were still many members of the family who lived in their own territories. Moreover, a large number of people had to stay in their original places to take care of businesses and so on. Therefore, many small cities were still very lively. To the transcendents, there were many demons. However, to the entire world of the Xia people, there were very few demons. Under the pursuit of the transcendence of the Xia people, the demons could only hide here and there. Only the demonic avatars of a rank 5 demon would come out time and time again. The lives of the mortals were still relatively peaceful. Of course it's lively. Although Water Rights Town is a small city, it still has a population of 1 million. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Look over there are many people on the boats on the river at the end of the bridge. Jingqiu said. There are quite a lot of wealthy nobles in Water Rights Town. It's good to be able to live a befuddled life. Dongbua Shuang smiled as he looked at everything. The lives of the mortals were very peaceful. The wealthy nobles continued to live a befuddled life, while the ordinary commoners worked hard to earn money. There were also many who cultivated hard, and there were also adventurers who wandered outside. This was the life of the Xia people. This was what Dongbua Shuang and the other transcendents had to protect. If they fell, countless mortals would be bred in captivity by the demons, and their souls would be devoured in large batches. That would be the nightmarish days of the Walking Dead. Suddenly, Dongbua Shuang and Dongbua Shuang received news from the Infernal Palace on their communication wristbands at the same time. He actually failed? Jingqiu's expression suddenly changed. It still failed. As expected, there are no miracles. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. This is going to be troublesome. The Infernal Palace had just released a piece of news. The elites of the evil demons had invaded the small transcendent world. The Xia people had tried to attack but failed. All transcendents had to be careful. Previously, when the transcendents of the Xia people started dying one after another, everyone had already guessed that this was the worst-case scenario. After all, they had history to refer to. In the history of the demon invasion, the invasion of the small transcendent world had always been a headache for the Xia people, and they had never been able to solve it. A small transcendent world can only be entered by Saint Realm transcendents. Jingqiu shook her head. Historically, the demons have always sent out their elites. Furthermore, they have always been setting up arrays. The possibility of breaking through them is extremely low. That's right, elites. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Below the demigod realm, the demons have too much of an advantage. According to the demon intelligence. As of now, they had found a total of 29 rank 5 demons. The weakest was at the level of the top 10 on the Saint rankings, and there were at least 3 who were stronger than the number 1 on the Saint rankings. The main reason was that the intelligence was not accurate enough, and they could only obtain some rough information. This information was mainly obtained from capturing some demons and interrogating them, as well as searching their souls. The first rank 5 demon was a demon called Jie Luo. According to the intelligence, he had grasped hold of 2 grade 3 true meanings. Among them, there was 1 grade 3 true meaning which could be confirmed to have reached the stage 2 realm. Grasping a complete true meaning would continue to improve. Along with reaching a higher realm, one would be able to condense a true deity heart. This Jie Luo was the strongest known rank 5 demon. At least in the hearts of those captured demons, he was the strongest. His combat power was even greater than Qiu Qibai's when he was at the Saint Realm. Other than Jie Luo, the others like Bai Ye and Wu Lang had grasped hold of grade 3 true meanings. That Wu Lang had grasped hold of the true meaning of space shatter, and he was a subordinate of General Yan Zhe. Thus, Dongbua Shuang, Qiu Qibai, and the others suspected that the one who killed Qingling Shu was this Wu Lang. Demons are different from us, Jingqiu said. It's said that there are billions of them, and from the moment they are born, they would have to fight and kill each other. They gradually grow through battle, and the weaker demons would have long been killed or stepped on. Rank 3, 4, and 5 demons would generally have reached the peak of the Saint Realm in terms of their magical energy. Just like human transcendence, their chi would reach the peak of the Saint Realm. But combat power did not represent the same. Based on their combat power, demons could be divided into ranks 3, 4, and 5. Those who could step into the 5th rank were the elites who stood at the very top of the countless demons. The failure of his attack, coupled with the strength of the demons, made Dongbua Shuang anxious. Before he grasped hold of a complete true meaning, he could only watch on helplessly. His heart ached, but he could only endure. Snow Eagle. Suddenly he received a message through his communication wristband. Palace Lord Chen. Dongbua Shuang replied. You should know the news, but you should understand, the more it is during this time, the more you have to endure. Palace Lord Chen transmitted. Their invasion of the minor transcendent worlds is the biggest headache for us Xia people. It is almost unbreakable. But our generation is different. Because of you, you have grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. Furthermore, it is an extremely strong offensive embryonic form. The moment you grasp hold of a complete true meaning, with the offensive power of this true meaning, even though there is still a gap between you and the top 10 demigods, you will not lose out to Gong Yu and the rest. Palace Lord Chen transmitted. When that time comes, you can attack directly without entering the boundaries of the arrays. Your strength is endless, and you can attack continuously from the front, using brute force to break through the arrays. Once the arrays are exhausted, you will be able to break through the arrays. I understand. Dongbua Shuang replied. A grade 2 true meaning was indeed very powerful. But he was still too weak in terms of qi. For example, after Qiu Qibai became a demigod, his combat power had greatly increased. Now that he had a deity weapon, his combat power had greatly increased. Thus, qi and weapons were both extremely important. Just by relying on a grade 2 true meaning, he was only slightly stronger than Gong Yu and the rest. He could even match some of the more experienced demigods. The news of you grasping hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning is still being kept a secret. You are our greatest trump card. I originally thought that even if you grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning, we would still keep it a secret. But there's no other way. They have now occupied 5 minor transcendent worlds. This is like 5 blades stabbing into the chests of our Xia people. We need you to go and pull them out. Only you can uproot them. And then, Dongbua Shuang gave a simple reply. Yes. Since his combat power was sufficient, he would naturally have to pull them out. The reason why I contacted you this time is because I need you to endure it. I'm just afraid that you will do something foolish at the most crucial moment. Palace Lord Chen instructed. He had only done so because he was too worried. Don't worry. I know what's important, Dongbua Shuang replied. You grasped hold of the embryonic form of a true meaning back at the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. I estimate that you should be able to grasp the complete true meaning in around 10 years or so. 10 years is nothing to the demon war that will last for 1,000 years. We can afford to wait. We can also afford to lose the transcendence of the Xia people in 10 years. Palace Lord Chen instructed. Day after day, month after month, year after year. The war between the transcendence of the Xia people and the demons continued. The Xia people had an intelligence network that spanned across the land to investigate the situation. As time passed, the demons found it hard to hold back. There were countless humans right in front of their eyes. Just looking at them made them drool. How could they endure it for too long? Hence they, especially the lower tier 1 and 2 demons, began to secretly make their moves. With the aid of the intelligence network and the patrolling transcendence, the Xia people began to discover the demons one by one. The demigods were also dispatched everywhere, capturing the demons alive time and time again. As for the human transcendence, they would occasionally be spotted by the demons. Immediately, the demonic avatars of the fifth-level demons would attack them, causing the human transcendents to lose their lives. Although according to the ratio of casualties, the number of demons that were captured alive was higher. Ultimately, the number of human transcendents was too small. Every loss made the Xia people's heart ache. Chapter 199. Dragon Mountain Calendar Year 9680, Summer. Beside a quiet lake, under a thick willow, a white-robed youth was sitting cross-legged, fishing leisurely. This youth was Dongbu Shuang, who had changed his appearance to search for traces of demons. Naturally, he had been borrowing the power of heaven and earth to observe the surrounding 100 li. Within this 100 li, there were many villages and even bandits. Thousands of willow branches fluttered in the wind, occasionally creating ripples on the surface of the lake. Suddenly, the fishing line vibrated, and the surface of the water rippled. "Oh!" Dongbu Shuang immediately picked up the fishing rod and swung it. A big fish immediately flew out of the water and flew towards the shore. "Jing Qiu, I caught another fish. It's a big fish, at least 5 kilograms. Dongbu Shuang chatted with Jing Qiu through his communication wristband. "Senior Snow Eagle, your luck is pretty good today. You already caught 5 to 6 fish. I'm currently shopping for clothes in a clothing shop. This shop is just an ordinary shop. The clothes were personally designed by the shop owner. This shop owner is a very ordinary mage, but the clothes he designed are pretty good." Jing Qiu also chatted. Searching for traces of demons was very boring. They had to find some entertainment for themselves. "Right, Senior Snow Eagle, aren't you going to Eternal Wind Academy to take a look at Qin Shi? Qin Shi has already broken through to legend rank. As his older brother, you should go and congratulate him. Breaking through to legend rank is considered a big matter?" Dongbu Shuang said. Although he said that, in his heart, Dongbu Shuang was very happy. He had watched his younger brother grow up. Because the two of them depended on each other for survival, his feelings for his younger brother were very deep. "I can't flatter this kid too much. Now that he has broken through to legend rank, he should be proud of himself. If I were to rush over to congratulate him, this kid wouldn't know who he is," Dongbu Shuang said. "I have to cool him down a bit and make him sober up. Don't get too arrogant. Don't look down on your younger brother. To be able to step into legend rank, he must have tempered his spirit to a very high level. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to achieve one with the world," Jing Qiu said. The two of them chatted for a while before stopping. As Dongbu Shuang fished, his mind started to focus on comprehending the profound mysteries of his spear technique. All these years, his battle energy had long since reached the peak of the saint level, and his body had also reached the early stage of the saint level. In reality, however, all of this was quite easy. All it took was time to absorb the energy within the origin stone. Regardless of whether it was the countless mortals or the transcendence of the Xia people, everything was proceeding according to the normal path. Of course, there were often casualties. Every time those devils wantonly slaughtered, a large number of mortals would die. Although it was insignificant compared to the entire world of the Xia people, Dongbu Shuang and the rest were able to track down the demons. Most of the time, by the time they arrived, the demons had already escaped. They had seen too many tragedies. Boom! Dongbu Shuang, who was fishing under the weeping willow, was pondering over his spear technique. Many thoughts in his mind pointed to the same destination. Everything suddenly became clear. "This feeling is really great." Dongbu Shuang looked at his surroundings. The world seemed to be the same as before. The surface of the lake was still the same. In the distance, there were forests, and even some wild beasts and birds. Everything seemed to be the same as before. However, it was different. The scenery didn't change. The world didn't change. However, he had changed. Therefore, he was able to see the more realistic side of the world. He was able to see the most fundamental laws of profound mysteries behind everything in the world. Although he had only seen through a small part of it, This part was very close to the true essence of the world. This caused Dongbu Shuang to feel like he was the ruler of this world. It was just like how ordinary people would feel that a skill was too complicated if they didn't understand it at all. But once they truly understood it, they would be able to easily understand the essence within. It was the same logic. When Dongbu Shuang truly grasped the true meaning, it was as though he had a sharp blade in his hands. A sharp blade that could move the laws of heaven and earth. The closer this sharp blade was to the true essence, the more damage it could cause to the laws of heaven and earth. This sharp blade that Dongbu Shuang had grasped while he was fishing was clearly very terrifying. The world around me, anywhere within 50 li of me, is within my attack range. Dongbu Shuang was somewhat intoxicated by this feeling. Let's give it a try. Dongbu Shuang waved his hand, and a fallen leaf on the ground flew into Dongbu Shuang's hands. He grabbed it with his index and middle fingers, and flung it out. Xiao! The leaf itself didn't contain any qi, but there was a layer of solidified energy on the surface of it. This energy was mysterious and unfathomable. It was the materialization of the laws of profound mysteries. To be able to reach the stage of materialization, this was true meaning. The combination of laws of profound mysteries. This leaf instantly passed through the obstruction of space, and all energy would be forcefully penetrated by it. Following that, 100 li away, at the peak of a tall mountain, a leaf appeared out of thin air. It directly shot towards a huge rock that was over 10 zhang tall. The moment it touched the huge rock, the layer of true meaning wrapped around the leaf immediately invaded the huge rock. Soundlessly, the part of the rock that came into contact with the true meaning started to be pierced through. This wasn't a piercing caused by physical force, but a piercing caused by the laws of profound mysteries. It wasn't at the molecular or atomic level, but at the deeper level of the particles. In other words, the most basic particles that made up the rock were all broken down. The deepest level of destruction. Disperse! Dongbu Shuang immediately commanded with his will. The true meaning wrapped around the leaf immediately dispersed. The leaf had already pierced through the huge rock, and floated in midair before slowly descending. As for that huge rock, there was a finger-sized hole on it. However, there wasn't even any rock dust around it. If I didn't disperse the true meaning ripples, I'm afraid that this leaf would be able to pierce through more than 1,000 li. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Unknowingly, I've already reached the stage where the expert with the battle scars in the cave abode at the bottom of the black wind abyss was at. That expert had destroyed the walls of the cave abode with a single strike, and even tore through the ground for more than 100 li. As for Dongbu Shuang, his attack was even more concentrated. While there might be a difference in power between the two, they were at least at the same level. The power of a demigod? Dongbu Shuang exclaimed in shock. Putting aside how terrifying the laws of profound mysteries' attacks of true meanings were, true meanings themselves were also filled with power. Right now, the power of the complete true meaning of extreme piercing. If Dongbu Shuang were to stand in midair and punch out with his fist, the power would be so great that it could turn an entire city within 100 li into ruins. It could even turn an entire mountain into dust. Laws of profound mysteries itself had the power to move the heavens and earth. Of course, this was the most stupid kind of power. Strength coupled with laws of profound mysteries was truly terrifying. How much power would a Hercules punch out with his fists? If it was equipped with a sharp blade, the frightening strength would be able to match the sharp blade and stab out. Only then would the power skyrocket. Pure power would be equivalent to strength. The laws of profound mysteries contained within true meanings would be equivalent to sharp blades. This was also why everyone was pursuing a higher level of true meaning. Palace Lord Qin. Dongbu Shuang was still sitting there, with a fishing rod beside him. Snow Eagle? Palace Lord Qin was currently in his study room in the Infernal Palace of the Xia capital. His study room was filled with a large number of scrolls. Although he had always been overseeing the Infernal Palace, he was actually in charge of dispatching and arranging all the transcendence of the Xia people. Even the Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence network that covered the entire world had Palace Lord Chen as its highest leader. To be able to assume such a position, he had long given his soul to the Xia people. There was no need to doubt his loyalty. At this moment, Dongbua Shui Ying's message caused Palace Lord Chen's heart to tremble. This was because Dongbua Shui Ying rarely took the initiative to contact Palace Lord Chen. Furthermore, after calculating the time, it seemed like it was about time. Palace Lord Chen, I have already grasped the complete true meaning, Dongbua Shui Ying transmitted. Chapter 200. Who? Palace Lord Chen abruptly stood up in front of his desk. He was so excited that he could no longer suppress his aura, causing the atmosphere in the study to rumble. You've grasped it? Palace Lord Chen was incomparably excited. He had never been this excited before, even after becoming a transcendent. The complete true meaning of piercing? Ha ha ha! In the entire history of my Xia clan, there has only been one transcendent who has grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning. Who would have thought that in this era where the demons have descended, my Xia clan would give birth to another transcendent who grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning? Ha ha ha! The heavens are helping our Xia people, the heavens are helping our Xia people. It took a few more years than expected, Dongbua Shui Ying transmitted. Every year, there would be transcendents from the Xia people dying. He was anxious, but there was no use in being anxious. With his mental state at Dongbua Shui Ying's level, even if he was anxious, he could throw it to the back of his mind. Instead, he could leisurely fish. This was because he knew that being anxious would not be of any help and would instead interfere with his cultivation. Only when his mental state was absolutely calm and immersed in his spear techniques would he improve faster. Ha ha! So what if it took a few more years? It's a grade 2 true meaning. Even though you comprehended the embryonic form previously, it was almost certain that you would be able to comprehend the complete true meaning. But as long as you haven't comprehended it, I can't be at ease. I'm afraid that something unexpected might happen. Now that you've broken through, haha, I can finally heave a sigh of relief, Palace Lord Chen said. Our Xia people's transcendence below the demigod level can be saved. As long as they removed the demon nests in the 5 minor transcendent worlds, even though the demon generals were still hiding in the mortal world, the threat to the Xia people would be greatly reduced. After all, the demonic avatars of rank 5 demons that could attack unscrupulously were extremely troublesome. Even if they were occasionally killed, after resting for 2 to 3 years, the rank 5 demons would be able to completely recover from the damage to their souls and fight again. Right, how's the power of your true meaning of piercing? Palace Lord Chen transmitted. Are you confident in breaking through the arrays of the demon nests? It contains an extreme true meaning of attack. How could its power be weak? Shui Ying said. Its power is comparable to a veteran demigod. Regarding the strength of a demigod, it was already described in the dossier. As long as one compared it, one would be able to determine the approximate level of one's strength. Very good! Very good! This kind of strength was enough to crush the array head-on. By the way, do you have the confidence to survive an attack from a demon? Those rank 5 demons are not to be trifled with. Among the rank 5 demons that we've investigated so far, the strongest one, Jie Luo, is even stronger than Eternal Wind when he was a saint. Palace Lord Chen said worriedly. There are still other rank 5 demons with other true meanings. Don't worry. Palace Lord, you should know that my piercing true intent allows me to attack from a distance. I don't even need to get close to them. Dongbua Shui Ying transmitted. Furthermore, I can also forcefully pass through space and other obstacles. If I want to escape, they won't be able to stop me. At the embryonic form of the true meaning. During battles, Dongbua Shui Ying's body was already able to forcefully penetrate through space. Now that he had grasped the complete true meaning, it was even more heaven-defying. Even if the space was completely sealed, he could also forcefully penetrate it. This was because this wasn't a space-related true meaning at all. Instead, it was extreme piercing. In theory, Once he reached the limit, he could penetrate through space and time. That's good. Palace Lord Chen let out a sigh of relief. I was still too nervous. This battle. It involved the life and death of more than half of the transcendents of the Xia people. It also involved the life and death of Dongbu Shuiying, an absolute transcendent who grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning. He could not help but be nervous. No worries. I have confidence. Dongbu Shuiying was very confident. Right, when are you preparing to attack the demon's nest in the small-scale worlds? Palace Lord Chen asked. Give me another half a year. Dongbu Shuiying said. I need half a year to prepare. Haha, good. The demons have descended for close to 20 years. Do you still need another half a year? Palace Lord Chen said. Furthermore, you have just grasped hold of a complete true meaning. You need to familiarize yourself with it, and consolidate your comprehension. Since that's the case, you should prepare well. Once you're done, inform me. I will help you arrange for demigods. Faction head Si Kong, Eternal Wind, and Mountain Lord, he will help you. All right. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. Both sides stopped communicating. Dongbu Shuiying took a deep breath. He looked at the mirror-like surface of the lake in front of him. Half a year should be enough. The reason he requested for half a year was to consolidate his comprehension. The main reason was to grasp hold of the other grade 2 true meanings. Extreme piercing was the first true meaning he had cultivated and grasped hold of. The true meaning of star was cultivated smoothly as well. It would take him 3 to 5 days to 1 or 2 months to fully grasp hold of it. Only the true meaning of mirage, which Dongbu Shuiying had no confidence in grasping hold of. If it was short, it would take a few months to a few years. One must know, every year, there would be transcendence of the Xia people dying. Ever since the demons invaded, 20% of the Xia people transcendents had died. Clearly, in the early stages of the war, the transcendents of the Xia people were lacking in experience. Those who were slightly careless were more likely to fall for the demon's tricks. As time passed, the survivors would become more and more cautious. Only then would the number of deaths gradually decrease. But after 1,000 years, more than 80% of the transcendents of the Xia people would die. In half a year, I will definitely grasp hold of the true meaning of star. Dongbu Shuiying thought. With the true meaning of star and the true meaning of extreme piercing, I am 100% confident in grasping hold of the true meaning of mirage. Whether I can grasp hold of the true meaning of mirage will depend on my luck. Even if I have to wait a few more years, it won't matter. The transcendence of the Xia people will not allow me to cultivate for a few more years. Dongbu Shuiying, who was sitting by the lake and fishing, suddenly had a change in expression. Shua. His body pierced through space, arriving at a desolate mountain village about 25 kilometers away. Ha ha ha, this is great. I've never felt so good in the abyss. Wah, the souls of humans in the material world are truly delicious. Wah, only demonic gods in the abyss are qualified to enjoy them. Ha ha, the world of the Xia people is so big, but the number of transcendents is so small. The chances of me being discovered while hunting is too low. As soon as I start hunting, I immediately escape. TSK, this is so cool. An ugly, skinny man appeared. His palms had transformed into thick, sharp claws of a demon. His body was also emitting a surging demonic aura. From this demonic aura, he was just a weak rank 1 or 2 demon. Pooh! Dongbu Shuiying's palm was the first to pierce through the void. His palm directly slapped down. Currently, his entire body was protected by a layer of true meaning. Even when facing a demon, he had to be vigilant. Who knew if there were stronger demons hiding in the dark? His palm, which was covered with the true meaning of extreme piercing, slapped down on the head of the weak demon. Pooh! Soundlessly, the body of the weak demon completely disintegrated. The might of the true meaning instantly caused the weak demon to disintegrate into the most basic particles. It completely dissipated, to the point where it could no longer be seen by the naked eye. Some of the weapons and other items on the demon's body were completely disintegrated under the might of the true meaning. Only some tough materials were left. Pun. The storage treasure carried by the demon trembled for a moment before shattering into pieces. The space inside was also completely shattered, and many of the items inside were crushed. With a glance, Shuang saw that within the small space that was like a bubble bursting, a crystal ball had also shattered. Within the crystal ball, there were a large number of human souls howling. As the crystal ball shattered, these human souls regained their freedom and disappeared under the laws of the heaven and earth. Damnable demons! A cold light flashed in Dongbu Shuiying's eyes. He knew that the human souls captured within the crystal ball would eventually be offered to demon generals, rank 5 demons, and a small number of other demons. For example, the demons in the 5 minor transcendent worlds. Their main bodies were always there and could not come out to hunt. Naturally, they would have to rely on weaker demons to hunt for them. However, what this weak demon said was right. Dongbu Shuang looked at the village that had already turned into a wasteland. There are too few transcendents in our Xia people. The chances of us discovering them hunting is too low. Thus, the mortals were killed by them in batches. Dongbu Shuang was furious and unwilling to accept this. According to history, as time passed, the number of transcendents in the Xia people would decrease. The places they could patrol would also decrease, and the demons would become even more rampant. Of course, if one stood by the river for too long, one's shoes would get wet. The demons would hunt time and time again. As long as they were met once, they would die. However, this cruel process would last for over 1,000 years. Half a year. Let's wait for another half a year. Dongbu Shuang immediately transmitted a message to the Infernal Palace and sent the location of the map over. I discovered demons here. They have already been eliminated by me. He believed that there would be people from the Dragon Mountain Manor coming to clean them up soon. After which, Dongbu Shuang turned and left.